Welcome to the Thornwillow Centennial reading of Ulysses. We are celebrating James Joyce's literary masterpiece by presenting the entire novel through a tapestry of hundreds of video clips that unite readers across the world. Thank you for joining us. Episode 15, Circe, Part 2, featuring Meghan Constantinou, reading from Hopkinton, Massachusetts, Emilie Baratta, reading from Las Vegas, Phil Salmon and Meredith Santaus, reading from Boston, Sinead Monaghan, reading from Dublin, Nancy Grace Handelman, reading from New York, Barrett Leddy, reading from Brooklyn, Edward G Pettit, reading from Philadelphia, Kait Manning and Jill Mann, reading from McMinnville, Oregon, Joe Coffey, reading from Los Angeles, Maggie Farren, reading from New York, Paula Plum, reading from Boston, Daniel Morgan, reading from New York, Jonathan Funke and Kelly Funke, also reading from New York, Paul Saint-Amour, reading from Oxford, Aaron Leis, reading from Washington, D.C., Sunday Steinkirchner and Jules Leonardos, reading from New York, and Phil Salmon and Meredith Santaus, reading from Boston.
Hello, Meghan Constantinou from Hopkinton, Massachusetts, diving into Joyce for the first time. Virag, head askew, arches his back and hunched wing shoulders, peers at the moth out of blear, bulged eyes, points a horning claw and cries, "Who's Ger? Who's dear Gerald? Oh, I much fear he shall be most badly burned. Will some pleash Persian, not now impediment, so catastrophics, mid agitation of first-class table numpkin?" He mews. "Lus, pus, he sighs, draws back and stares sideways down, with dropping under jaw. Well, he doth rest anon. The moth. I am a tiny thing, ever flying in the spring, round and round a ring. Long ago I was a king. Now I do this kind of thing. On the wing, bing! He rushes against the mauve shade, flapping noisily. Pretty petticoats. From left upper entrance, with 2 sliding steps, Henry Flower comes forward to left front center. He wears a dark mantle and drooping plumed sombrero. He carries a silver-stringed inlaid dulcimer and a long-stemmed bamboo Jacob's pipe, its clay bowl fashioned as a female head. He wears dark velvet hose and silver-buckled pumps. He has the romantic savior's face with flowing locks, thin beard, and mustache. His spindle legs and sparrow feet are those of the tenor Mario, Prince of Candia. He settles down his goffered ruffs and moistens his lips with a passage of his amorous tongue. Henry, in a low, dulcet voice, touching the strings of his guitar, "There is a flower that bloometh." Virag, truculent, his jowl set, stares at the lamp. Grave Bloom regards Zoe's neck. Henry Gallant turns with pendant dewlap to the piano. Stephen, to himself, "Play with your eyes shut. Imitate Pa. Filling my belly with husks of swine. Too much of this. I will arise and go to my... Expect this is the... Steve, thou art in a parlous way. Must visit old Deasy or telegraph. Our interview this morning has left on me a deep impression. Though our ages... We'll write fully tomorrow. I'm partially drunk, by the way." He touches the keys again. Minor chord comes now. Yes, not much, however. Almedano, Artifoni, holds out a baton roll of music with vigorous mustache work. Artifoni. Ci rifletta, lei rovina tutto. Florey. Sing us something, love's old sweet song. Stephen. No voice. I am a most finished artist. Lynch, did I show you the letter about the lute? Florey, smirking. The bird that can sing and won't sing. The Siamese twins, Philip drunk and Philip sober, 2 Oxford dons with lawnmowers, appear in the window embrasure. Both are masked with Matthew Arnold's face. Philip sober. Take a fool's advice, all is not well. Work it out with the butt end of a pencil like a good young idiot. £3.12 you got, 2 notes, 1 sovereign, 2 crowns, if youth but knew. Mounies-en-Ville, Mounies-sur-Mer, the Moira, Larches, Hollis Street Hospital, Berks, eh? I'm watching you. Philip drunk impatiently. Ah, bosh, man. Go to hell. I paid my way. If I could only find out about octaves. Reduplication of personality. Who was it told me his name? His lawnmower begins to purr. Aha, yes. Zoe Musazagapo. Have a notion I was here before. When was it not Atkinson? His card I have somewhere. Mac somebody. On Mac, I have it. He told me about, hold on, Swinburne was it? No? Florey. And the song? Stephen. Spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Florey. Are you out of Maynooth? You're like someone I knew once. Out of it now, to himself. Clever. Philip drunk and Philip sober, their lawnmowers purring with a rigadoon of grass bombs. Clever ever, out of it, out of it. By the by, have you the book, the thing, the ash plant? Yes, there, yes. Clever ever, out of it now, keep in condition, do like us. Zoe. There was a priest down here 2 nights ago to do his bit of business with his coat buttoned up. You needn't try to hide, I says to him. I know you've a Roman collar. Virag. Perfectly logical from his standpoint. Fall of man. Harshly, his pupils waxing. To hell with the Pope. Nothing new under the sun. I am the Virag who disclosed the sex secrets of monks and maidens. Why I left the Church of Rome. Read the priest, the woman in the confessional. Penrose, flipperty-gibbert. He wriggles. Woman, undoing with sweet pudor her belt of rush rope, offers her all-moist yoni to a man's lingam. Short time after, man presents woman with pieces of jungle meat. Woman shows joy and covers herself with feather skins. Man loves her yoni fiercely with big lingam, the stiff one. He cries, Coactus volui! Then giddy woman will run about. Strong man grasps woman's wrist. Woman squeals, bites, bucks. Man, now fierce angry, strikes woman's fat yatgana. He chases his tail. Piff, paff, popo. He stops, sneezes. Pish. He worries his butt. Purr. Lynch. I hope you gave the good father a penance. 9 glorias for shooting a bishop. Zoe spouts walrus smoke through her nostrils. He couldn't get a connection. Only, sensation. A dry rush. Bloom. Poor man. Zoe, lightly. Only for what happened to him. Bloom. How? Virag. A diabolic rictus of black luminosity contracting his visage, cranes his scraggy neck forward. He lifts a mooncalf nozzle and howls. Verfluchte Goim! He had a father, 40 fathers. He never existed. Pig god. He had 2 left feet. He was Judas Accius, a Libyan eunuch, the Pope's bastard. He leans out on tortured forepaws, elbows bent rigid, his eye agonizing in his flat skull neck, and yelps over the mute worlds. A son of a whore. Apocalypse. Kitty. And Mary Shortle that was in the lock with the pox she got from Jimmy Pigeon in the blue caps had a child off him that couldn't swallow and was smothered with the convulsions in the mattress, and we all subscribed for the funeral. Philip drunk, gravely. Qui vous a mis dans sa fichue position, Philippe? Philip sober, gaily. C'était le sacré pigeon, Philippe? Kitty unpins her hat and sets it down calmly, patting her henna hair. And a prettier, a daintier head of winsome curls was never seen on a whore's shoulders. Lynch puts on her hat. She whips it off. Lynch laughs. And to such delights has Metchnikoff inoculated anthropoid apes? Florey nods. Locomotor a taxi. Zoe, gaily. Oh, my dictionary. Lynch, 3 wise virgins. Virag, ague shaken, profuse yellow spawn foaming over his bony epileptic lips. She sold love philtres, white wax, orange flower. Panther, the Roman centurion, polluted her with his genitories. He sticks out a flickering, phosphorescent scorpion tongue, his hand on his fork. Messiah! He burst her tympanum. With gibbering, baboon's cries, he jerks his hip in the cynical spasm. Hick, hack, hack, hoke, hook, coke, kook. Ben Jumbo Dollard, rubicund, muscle-bound, hairy-nostrilled, huge-bearded, cabbage-eared, shaggy-chested, shock-maned, fat-papped, stands forth, his loins and genitals tightened into a pair of black, bathing bag slots.
Ben Dollard, knackering castanet bones in his huge padded paws, yodels jovially in bass barrel tone. When love absorbs my ardent soul. The virgins, Nurse Callan and Nurse Quigley, burst through the ring keepers and the ropes and mob him with open arms. The virgins gushingly, beg Ben, Ben McTree. A voice, hold that fellow with the bad breeches. Ben Dollard smites his thigh in abundant laughter. Hold him now. Henry, caressing on his breast of severed female head, murmurs, thine heart, mine love. He plucks his lute strings. When first I saw Virag, sloughing his skins, his multitudinous plumage molting. Rats. He yawns, showing a coal black throat, and closes his jaws by an upward push of his parchment roll. After having said which I took my departure, farewell, fare thee well, Drek. Henry Flower combs his mustache and beard rapidly with a pocket comb and gives a cow's lick to his hair. Steered by his rapier, he glides to the door, his wild harp slung behind him. Virag reaches the door in two ungainly still-tops, his tail cocked, and deftly claps sideways on the wall, a pussy yellow flybill, butting it with his head. The flybill. K2, post no bills, strictly confidential, Dr. High Franks. Henry. All is lost now. Virag unscrews his head in a trice and holds it under his arm. Virag's head. Whack! Exeunt, severally. Stephen, over his shoulder to Zoe. You would have preferred the fighting parson who founded the Protestant error, but beware, Antisthenes, the dog sage, and the last end of Arius, Heresiarchus, the agony in the closet. Lynch, all one and the same God to her. Stephen, devoutly, and sovereign lord of all things. Florey, to Stephen. I'm sure you are a spoiled priest. Or a monk. Lynch, he is a cardinal son. Stephen, cardinal sin. Monks on the screw. His Eminence Simon Stephen Cardinal Daedalus Primate of all Ireland appears in the doorway, dressed in red soutane, sandals and socks. 7 dwarf Simeon acolytes, also in red cardinal sins, uphold his train peeping under it. He wears a battered silk hat sideways on his head. His thumbs are stuck in his armpits, and his palms outspread. Around his neck hangs a rosary of corks, ending on his breast in a corkscrew cross. Releasing his thumbs, he invokes grace from on high with large wave gestures and proclaims with bloated pomp, the Cardinal. Conservio lies captured. He lies in the lowest dungeon with manacles and chains around his limbs, weighing upwards of 3 tons. He looks at all for a moment, his right eye closed tight, his left cheek puffed out, and then, unable to repress his merriment, he rocks to and fro, arms akimbo, and sings with broad rollicking humor. Oh, the poor little fellow, hi, 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 his legs, they were yellow. He was plump, fat, and heavy, and brisk as a snake. But some bloody savage to graze his white cabbage, he murdered Nell Flaherty's duck-loving Drake. A multitude of midges swarms over his robe. He scratches himself with crossed arms at his ribs, grimacing, and exclaims, I am suffering the agony of the damned. By the hokey fiddle, thanks be to Jesus, those funny little chaps are not unanimous. If they were, they'd walk me off the face of the bloody globe. His head aslant, he blesses curtly with fore and middle fingers, imparts the Easter kiss, and double shuffles off comically, swaying his hat from side to side, shrinking quickly to the size of his train bearers. The dwarf acolytes giggling, peeping, nudging, ogling, Easter kissing, zigzag behind him. His voice is heard mellow from afar, merciful, male, melodious. Shall carry my heart to thee, shall carry my heart to thee, in the breath of the balmy night, shall carry my heart to thee. The trick door handle turns. The door handle. Zoe. The devil is in that door. A male form passes down the creaking staircase and is heard, taking the waterproof and hat from the rack. Bloom starts forward involuntarily and, half closing the door as he passes, takes the chocolate from his pocket and offers it nervously to Zoe. Zoe sniffs his hair briskly. Thank your mother for the rabbits. I'm very fond of what I like. Bloom, hearing a male voice in talk with the whores on the doorstep, pricks his ears. If it were he, after, or because not, or the double event. Zoe tears open the silver foil. Fingers was made before forks. She breaks off and nibbles a piece, gives a piece to Kitty Ricketts, and then turns kittenishly to Lynch. No objection to French salt lozenges? He nods. She taunts him. Have it now, or wait till you get it. He opens his mouth, his head cocked. She whirls the prize in left circle. His head follows. She whirls it back in right circle. He eyes her. Catch. She tosses a piece. With an adroit snap, he catches it and bites it through with a crack. Kitty, chewing. Engineer I was with at the bazaar does have lovely ones, full of the best liquors, and the viceroy was there with his lady. The gas we had on the Toff's hobby horses, I'm giddy still. Blue, in Svengali's fur overcoat, with folded arms and Napoleonic forelock, frowns in ventriloquial exorcism with piercing eagle glance towards the door. Then, rigid, with left foot advanced, he makes a swift pass with impelling fingers and gives the sign of past master drawing, his right arm downward from his left shoulder. Go, 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 I conjure you, whoever you are. The male cough and tread are heard, passing through the mist outside. Bloom's features relax. He places a hand in his waistcoat, posing calmly. Zoe offers him chocolate. Bloom, solemnly. Thanks. Zoe, do as you're bid. Here. Firm heel clacking is heard on the stairs. Bloom takes the chocolate. Aphrodisiac? But I bought it. Vanilla calms or Nemo. Confused light confuses memory. Red influences lupus. Colors affect women's characters. Any they have. This black makes me sad. Eat and be merry for tomorrow. He eats. Influence taste too. Mauve. But it is so long since I... Seems new? Afro? That priest must come? Better late than never. Try truffles at Andrew's. The door opens. Bella Cohen, a massive poor mistress, enters. She is dressed in a three-quarter ivory gown, fringed round the hem with tasseled selvage, holds herself, flirting a black horn fan like Minnie Bach in Carmen. On her left hand are wedding and keeper rings. Her eyes are deeply carboned. She has a sprouting mustache. Her olive face is heavy, slightly sweated and full nose with orange-tainted nostrils. And she has large, pendant, barrel fingers. Bella. My word, I'm all of a muck sweat. She glances around her at the couples, and her eyes rest on Bloom with hard insistence. Her large fan winnows wind toward her heated face, neck and ebon point. Her falcon eyes glitter. The fan. Pretty quickly, then slowly. Married, I see. Bloom. Yes, hardly. I have mislaid. The fan. Half opening, then closing. And the missus is master. Petticoat government. Bloom looks down with a sheepish grin. That is the fan. Pulling together, rests against her eardrum. Have you forgotten me? Bloom. Ness, yo! The fan. Folded akimbo against her waist. Is me, her, was you dreamed before? Was she, him? You, us since new? And all them, and the same now we. Bella approaches, gently tapping with the fan. Bloom. Wincing. Powerful being. In my eyes read that slumber which women love. The fan. Tapping. We have met. You are mine. It is fate.
My name is Phil Salmon. I am General Manager of Bromer Booksellers, and I've long considered Ulysses a monument as a reader and as a bookseller. It's one of the most expensive books I've ever sold, and it's one of the books I've never quite been able to finish, primarily because I feel that it is best performed as we are about to do here in Boston on this Thursday afternoon.
My name is Meredith Santaus. I am one of the booksellers here at Bromer, and as someone who has read Ulysses, I can only agree that it is best performed and not necessarily read alone and privately.
For our passage from the Circe section, we are going to divide up the dialogue in a way that we think will make better sense of the voices that you will hear and the voices that were intended in this particular section. Bear with us. Bloom, cowed, exuberant female, enormously I desiderate your domination. I am exhausted, abandoned, no more young. I stand, so to speak, with an unposted letter bearing the extra regulation fee before the too late box of the General Post Office of human life. The door and window open at a right angle cause a draft of 32 feet per second, according to the laws of falling bodies. I have felt this instant a twinge of sciatica in my left gluteal muscle. It runs in our family. Poor dear Papa, a widower, was a regular barometer from it. He believed in animal heat. A skin of tabby lined his winter waistcoat. Near the end, remembering King David and the Sunamite, he shared his bed with Athos, faithful after death. A dog's spittle, as you probably... Ah. Richie Goulding, bag-weighted, passes the door.
Mocking is catch, best value in dub, fit for a prince's liver and kidney.
The fan, tapping.
All things end. Be mine, now.
Bloom, undecided. All now? I should not have parted with my talisman. Rain, exposure at dewfall on the sea rocks, a peccadillo at my time of life. Every phenomenon has a natural cause. The fan points downward slowly.
You may.
Bloom looks downward and perceives his unfastened bootlace. We are observed. The fan points downward quickly.
You must.
Bloom, with desire, with reluctance. I can make a true black knot. Learned when I served my time and worked the mail order line for Kellett's experienced hand. Every knot says a lot. Let me, in courtesy. I knelt once before today. Ah.
Bella raises her gown slightly and, steadying her pose, lifts to the edge of a chair a plump, buskined hoof and a full pastern, silk-socked. Bloom, stiff-legged, aging, bends over her hoof, with gentle fingers draws out and in her laces.
Bloom murmurs lovingly. To be a shoe fitter in Mansfield's was my love's young dream, the darling joys of sweet button hooking, to lace up crisscrossed, to knee-length the dressy kid footwear, satin-lined, so incredibly small, of Clyde Road ladies. Even their wax model, Raymond, I visited daily to admire her cobweb hose and stick of rhubarb toe as worn in Paris. The hoof.
Smell my hot goat hide. Feel my royal weight.
Bloom, cross-lacing. Too tight? The hoof.
If you bungle, Handy Andy, I'll kick your football for you.
Bloom. Not to lace the wrong eyelet as I did the night of the bazaar dance. Bad luck. Nook in the wrong tash of her person, you mentioned. That night she met. Now. He knots the lace. Bella places her foot on the floor. Bloom raises his head, her heavy face. Her eyes strike him in midbrow. His eyes grow dull, darker, and pouched. His nose thickens. Bloom mumbles. Awaiting your further orders, we remain, gentlemen.
Bello, with a hard basilisk stare, in a baritone voice. Hound of dishonor.
Empress!
Bello, his heavy cheek chops sagging. Adorer of the adulterous rump.
Bloom, plaintively. Hugeness!
Bello, dung devourer.
Bloom, with sinews semiflexed. Magnificence!
Bello, down. He taps her on the shoulder with his fan. Incline, feet forward. Slide left foot 1 pace back. You will fall. You are falling. On the hands, down.
Bloom, her eyes upturned in the sign of admiration, closing. Truffles! With a piercing epileptic cry, she sinks on all fours, grunting, snuffling, rooting at his feet, then lies, shamming dead, with eyes shut tight, trembling eyelids, bowed upon the ground in the attitude of most excellent master.
Bello, with bobbed hair, purple gills, fat mustache rings around his shaven mouth in mountaineer's puttees, green silver-buttoned coat, sports skirt, and alpine hat with moorcock's feather, his hands stuck deep in his breeches pockets, places his heel on her neck and grinds it in. Feel my entire weight. Bow, bondslave, before the throne of your despot's glorious heels, so glistening in their proud erectness.
Bloom, enthralled, bleats. I promise never to disobey.
Bello laughs loudly. Holy smoke! You little know what's in store for you. I'm the Tartar to settle your little lot and break you in. I'll bet Kentucky cocktails all round I shame it out of you, old son. Cheek me, I dare you. If you go, tremble in anticipation of heel discipline to be inflicted in gym costume.
Bloom creeps under the sofa and peers out through the fringe. Zoe, widening her slip to screen her. She's not here. Bloom, closing her eyes. She's not here. Florey, hiding her with her gown. She didn't mean it, Mr. Bello. She'll be good, sir. Kitty, don't be too hard on her, Mr. Bello. Sure you won't, ma'am, sir.
Bello, coaxingly. Come, ducky dear. I want a word with you, darling, just to administer correction. Just a little heart-to-heart talk, sweetie. Bloom puts out her timid head. There's a good girlie now. Bello grabs her hair violently and drags her forward. I only want to correct you for your own good on a soft, safe spot. How's that tender behind? Oh, ever so gently, pet. Begin to get ready.
Bloom, fainting. Don't tear my...
Bello, savagely. The nose ring, the pliers, the bastinado, the hanging hook, the knout I'll make you kiss while the flutes play like the Nubian slave of old. You're in for it this time. I'll make you remember me for the balance of your natural life. His forehead veins swollen, his face congested. I shall sit on your ottoman saddleback every morning after my thumping good breakfast of Matterson's fat ham rashers and a bottle of Guinness's porter. He belches. And suck my thumping good stock exchange cigar while I read the licensed victualler's Gazette. Very possibly I shall have you slaughtered and skewered in my stables and enjoy a slice of you with crisp crackling from the baking tin, basted and baked like a sucking pig with rice and lemon or currant sauce. It will hurt you. He twists her arm. Bloom squeaks, turning turtle.
Don't be cruel, nurse. Don't.
Bello, twisting. Another.
Bloom screams. Oh, it's hell itself. Every nerve in my body aches like mad.
Bello shouts. Good, by the rumping, jumping general. That's the best bit of news I've heard these 6 weeks. Here, don't keep me waiting, damn you. He slaps her face.
Bloom whimpers. You're after hitting me. I'll tell.
Bello, hold him down, girls, till I squat on him.
Zoe. Yes, walk on him. I will. Florey. I will. Don't be greedy. Kitty. No, me. Lend him to me. The brothel cook, Mrs. Keogh, wrinkling, gray-bearded, in a greasy bib, men's gray and green socks and brogues, flour-smeared, a rolling pin stuck with raw pastry in her bare red arm and hand, appears at the door. Mrs. Keogh, ferociously. Can I help? They hold and pinion Bloom.
Bello, squats with a grunt on Bloom's upturned face, puffing cigar smoke, nursing a fat leg. I see Keating Clay is elected chairman of the Richmond Asylum, and by the by, Guinness's preference shares are at the 16 3/4. Curse me for a fool that I didn't buy that lot Craig and Gardner told me about. Just my infernal luck, curse it. And that goddamned outsider throwaway at 20-1. He quenches his cigar angrily on Bloom's ear. Where's that goddamned cursed ashtray?
Bloom, goaded, buttock smothered. Oh, monsters! Cruel one!
Bellow. Ask for that every 10 minutes. Beg, pray for it, as you never prayed before. He thrusts out a figged fist and a foul cigar. Here, kiss that. Both. Kiss. He throws a leg astride and, pressing with horseman's knees, calls in a hard voice, Gee up! A cock horse to Banbury Cross. I'll ride him for the Eclipse Stakes. He bends sideways and squeezes his mount's testicles roughly, shouting, Ho, off we pop! I'll nurse you in proper fashion. He horse rides Cockhorse, leaping in the saddle. The lady goes a pace, and the coachman goes a trot, and the gentleman goes a gallop.
Florey pulls at Bellow. Let me on him now, you've had enough. I asked before you. Zoe, pulling at Florey. Me, are you not finished with him yet, succoress? Bloom, stifling. Can't.
Bellow. Well, I'm not. Wait. He holds in his breath. Curse it. Here. This bung's about to burst. He uncorks himself behind, then, contorting his features, farts loudly. Take that! He recorks himself. Yes, by jingo, 16 3/4.
Bloom, a sweat breaking out over him. Not man, he sniffs. Woman.
Hi, my name is Sinead Monaghan and I'm an actor from Dublin, and this is my reading of a part of Ulysses, Circe, and it's mostly Bloom and Bellow. No more blow hot and cold. What you longed for has come to pass. Henceforth you are unmanned and mine in earnest, a thing under the yoke. Now for your punishment frock. You will shed your male garments, you understand, Rubicone? And don the shot silk luxuriously, rustling over head and shoulders, and quickly too. Silk, Mistress said, oh, crinkly, scrappy, must I tip-touch it with my nails? As they are now, so will you be, wigged, singed, perfume-sprayed, rice-powdered with smooth-shaven armpits. Tape measurements will be taken next to your skin. You will be laced with cruel force into vice-like corsets of soft dove coiffure with whalebone busk to the diamond-trimmed pelvis, the absolute outside edge, while your figure, plumber than when at large, will be restrained in net-tight frocks, pretty 2-ounce petticoats and fringes and things stamped, of course, with my house flag creation of lovely lingerie for Alice and nice scent for Alice. Alice will feel the pull. Martha and Mary will be a little chilly at first in such delicate thigh casing, but the frilly flimsiness of lace around your bare knees will remind you. I tried her things on only once, a small prank in Hollow Street. When we were hard up, I washed them to save the laundry bill. My own shirts I turned. It was the purest thrift. Little jobs that make mother please, and showed off in your domino at the mirror behind close-drawn blinds, your unskirted thighs and he-goats, others in various poses of surrender, Ho, I have to laugh. That second-hand black opera top shift and short trunk leg naughties all split up the stitches at her last rape that Mrs. Miriam Dandrade sold you from the Shelburne Hotel, Miriam Black. Christ almighty, it's too tickling. You were a nice-looking Miriam when you clipped off your backgate hairs and lay swooning in the thing across the bed as Mrs. Dandrade about to be violated by Lieutenant Smith. Mr. Philip Augustus Blockwell, MP, Signor Lacey Daramo, the robust tenor, Blue-Eyed Bert, the lift boy, Henry Florey of Gordon Bennett fame, Sheridan, the varsity wet bob, 8 from Old Trinity, Ponto, her splendid Newfoundland, and Bobs, Duchess of Manor Hamilton. Christ, wouldn't it make a Siamese cat laugh? It was Gerald converted me to be a true corset lover when I was a female impersonator in the high school play, vice versa. It was dear Gerald. He got that kink, fascinated by sisters' stays. Now dearest Gerald uses pinky grease paint and gilds his eyelids. Cult of the beautiful. Beautiful? Give us a breather. When you took your scat with womanish care, lifting your bellery flounces on the smooth-worn throne. Signs to compare the various joys we each enjoy. And really, it's better the position, because often I used to wet. No insubordination. The sawdust is there in the corner for you. I gave you strict instructions, didn't I? Do it standing, sir. I'll teach you to behave like a jingle man. If I catch a trace on your swaddles, by the ass of the Dorans, you'll find I'm a martinet. The sins of your past are rising against you, many, hundreds. The sins of the past. He went through a form of clandestine marriage with at least one woman in the shadow of the Black Church. Unspeakable messages he telephoned mentally to Miss Dunn at an address in Dullier Street, while he presented himself indecently to the instrument in the call box. By word and deed he encouraged a nocturnal strumpet to deposit fecal and other matter in an unsanitary outhouse attached to empty premises. In 5 public conveniences he wrote penciled messages offering his nuptial partner to all strong-membered males, and by the offensively smelling vitriol works did he not pass night after night by loving courting couples to see if and what and how much he could see. Did he not lie in bed, the gross bore, gloating over a nauseous fragment of well-used toilet paper presented to him by a nasty harlot stimulated by gingerbread and postal order? Say what was the most revolting piece of obscenity in all your career of crime? Go the whole hog, puke it out. Be candid for once. Don't ask me. Our mutual faith, Pleasant Street. I only thought the half of the... I swear on my sacred oath. Answer, Rugglemanot, wretch. I insist on knowing. Tell me something to amuse me. Smut or a bloody good ghost story or a line of poetry. Quick, quick, quick. Where, how, what time, with how many? I give you 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. I but nos in bignat. Oh, get out, you skunk. Hold your tongue. Speak when you're spoken to. Mr., Mistress, man-tamer? By day, you will souse and bat our smelling underclothes, also when we ladies are unwell, and swap out our lanterns with dress pinned up and a dishcloth tied to your tail. Won't that be nice? And there now, with this ring I thee own. Say thank you, mistress. Thank you, mistress. You will make the beds, get my tub ready, empty the piss pots in the different rooms, including old Mrs. Kyo's, the cook's a sandy one, aye, and rinse the 7 of them well, mind or lap it up like champagne. Drink me piping hot. Hop, you will dance attendance, or I'll lecture you on it, your misdeeds, Miss Ruby, and spank your bare butt right well. Miss with the hairbrush. You'll be taught the errors of your ways. At night, your well-creamed braceleted hands will wear 43 button gloves, new powered with tail and having delicately scented fingers, for which such favoured knights of old laid down their lives. My boys will be no end charmed to see you so ladylike, the colonel above all. When they come here the night before the wedding to fondle my new attraction in gilded heels, first I'll have a go at you myself. A man I know in the turf named Charles Alberta Marsh. I was in bed with him just now, and another gentleman out of Hanaper and Petty bag office is on the lookout for a maid. A maid of all work at a short knock. Swell the bust, smile, droop, shoulders back. What offers? For that lot trained by owner to fetch and carry basket in a mouth. This fine depth for you. What, boys? That give you a hard-on? Here, wet the deck and wipe it round. 1 and 8 pence too much. Barang? Must be virgin. Good breath. Clean. 2-bar rock-bottom figure and cheap at the price. 14 hands high. Touch and examine this points. Handle him, this downy skin, these soft muscles, this tender flesh. If I had only my gold piercer here, and quite easy to milk. 3 new-laid gallons a day. A pure stocketter due to lay within the hour. His steer's milk record was 1,000 gallons of whole milk in 40 weeks. Wow, my jewel, beg up. Wow. So, warranted cone, what advance on 2 bob, gentlemen? 100 punt sterling. For the Caliph Harun al-Rashid. Right, let them all come. The scanty, daringly short skirt, riding up at the knee to show a peep of white pantalette, is a potent weapon, and transparent stockings, emerald gartered with the long straight seam trailing up beyond the knee, appeal to the better instincts of the blasé man about town. Learn the smooth mincing walk on 4-inch Louis V heels, the Grecian bend with provoking crope, the thighs fluorescent, knees modestly kissing. Bring all your power of fascination to bear on them. Pander to their Gomorrhan vices.
My name is Nancy Grace Handelman. I am in New York City, and this is my first time reading any part of Ulysses by James Joyce. Oh, I know what you're hinting at now. What else are you good for, an impotent thing like you? Up, Manx cat. What have we here? Where's your curly teapot gone to, or who docked it on you, cockyolly? Sing, birdie, sing. It's as limp a boy of 6 as doing his poolie behind a cart. Buy a bucket or sell your pump. Can you do a man's job? Eccles Street. I wouldn't hurt your feelings for the world, but there's a man of brawn in possession there. The tables are turned, my gay young fellow. He is something like a full-grown outdoor man. Well for you, you muff, if you had that weapon with knobs and lumps and warts all over it. He shot his bolt, I can tell you. Foot to foot, knee to knee, belly to belly, bubs to breast. He's no eunuch. A shock of red hair he has sticking out of him behind like a furze bush. Wait for 9 months, my lad. Holy ginger, it's kicking and coughing up and down in her guts already. That makes you wild, don't it? Touches the spot. Spittoon. I was indecently treated. I informed the police. £100, unmentionable. I would if you could, lame duck. A downpour, we want not your drizzle. To drive me mad, Moll, I forgot, forgive. Moll, we still... No, Leopold Bloom, all is changed by woman's will since you slept horizontal in Sleepy Hollow your night of 20 years. Return and see. Rip Van Winkle, Rip Van Winkle. I see her. It's she. The first night at Matt Dillon's. But that dress, the green, and her hair is dyed gold in her... That's your daughter, you owl, with a Mullingar student. My, it's Popley, but oh, Popley, how old you've grown. Changed, eh? Our whatnot, our writing table where we never wrote, Aunt Hegarty's armchair, our classic reprints of old masters. A man and his men friend are living there in Clover. The Cuckoo's Rest, why not? How many women had you say? Following them up dark streets, flat-foot, exciting them by your smothered grunts? What, you male prostitute? Blameless dames with parcels of groceries. Turnabout. Sauce for the goose, my gander, oh. Their heel marks will stamp the Brusselette carpet you bought at Wren's auction. In their horseplay with Moll, the romp to find the buck flea in her breeches, they will deface the little statue you carried home in the rain for art's sake. They will violate the secrets of your bottom drawer. Pages will be torn from your handbook of astronomy to make them pipe spills. And they will spit in your 10-shilling brass fender from Hampton Leadham's. 10 and 6. The act of low scoundrels. Let me go, I will return, I will prove. Swear. As a paying guest or a kept man, too late, you've made your second best bed and others must lie in it. Your epitaph is written. You are down and out and don't you forget it, old bean. Justice! All Ireland versus one. Has nobody... Die and be damned if you have any sense of decency or grace about you. I can give you a rare old wine that'll send you skipping to hell and back. Sign a will and leave us any coin you have. If you have none, see you damn well get it. Steal it, rob it. We'll bury you in our shrubbery jakes where you'll be dead and dirty with old Cuck Cohen, my step-nephew I married, the bloody old gouty procurator and sodomite with a crick in his neck, and my other 10 or 11 husbands, whatever the buggers' names were, suffocated in one cesspool. We'll manure you, Mr. Flower. Bye-bye, Poldy, bye-bye. Papley! My willpower, memory, I have sinned, I have suffered. Cry, Babby, crocodile tears. Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. So he's gone. Ah, yes. Yes, indeed. Blue? Never heard of him, no? Queer kind of chap. There's the widow. That's so, ah, yes. Sister, our sister. Shh. Mortal? Nay, dost not weepest. This position, I felt it was expected of me, force of habit. Mortal, you found me in evil company. High kickers, coster picnic makers, pugilists, popular generals, immoral panto boys in flesh tights, and the nifty shimmy dancers, La Aurora and Carini, musical act, the hit of the century. I was hidden in cheap pink paper that smelt of rock oil. I was surrounded by the stale smut of clubmen, stories to disturb callow youth, or transparencies, trued up dice and bust pads, proprietary articles, and why wear a truss with testimonial from ruptured gentlemen, useful hints to the married. We have met before, on another star. Rubber goods never rip. Brand is supplied to the aristocracy, corsets for men. I cure fits or money refunded. Unsolicited testimonials for Professor Waldman's wonderful chest exuber. My bust developed 4 inches in 3 weeks, reports Mrs. Gus Rublin with photo. You mean photo bits? I do. You bore me away, framed me in oak and tinsel, set me above your marriage couch. Unseen one summer eve, you kissed me in 4 places, and with loving pencil you shaded my eyes, my bosom, and my shame. Your classic curves, beautiful, immortal. I was glad to look on you, to praise you, a thing of beauty, almost to pray. During dark nights I heard your praise. Yes, you mean that Sleep reveals the worst side of everyone, children perhaps excepted. I know I fell out of my bed, or rather was pushed. Steel wine is said to cure snoring. For the rest, there is that English invention, pamphlet of which I received some days ago incorrectly addressed. It claims to afford a noiseless, inoffensive vent. 'Twas never thus. Frailty, thy name is marriage.
Hi, I'm Barrett Letty, and I'm back for more Ulysses. I'm just gonna kick back in this comfy chair and read some Ulysses. I'm sorry, it's the end of a long day. I'm gonna kick back a little bit. Sorry for the informal way I'm sitting. And don't worry, I'll make sure to say which characters are which, and it won't be annoying. Okay, here we go. Cheers, by the way. The nymph. And words, they are not in my dictionary. Bloom. You understand them? The ewes. Shh. The nymph. What have I not seen in that chamber? What must my eyes look down on? Bloom. I know. Soiled personal linen. Wrong side up with care. The quoits are loose. From Gibraltar, by long sea, long ago. The nymph. Worse! Worse! Bloom. That antiquated commode. It wasn't her weight. She scaled just 11 stone 9. She put on 9 pounds after weaning. It was a crack and want of glue. Eh? And that absurd orange-keyed utensil which has only one handle. The sound of a waterfall is heard in bright cascade. The waterfall. Paula Fuca, Paula Fuca, Paula Fuca, Paula Fuca. The ewes mingling their bows. Listen, whisper. She is right, our sister. We grew by Paula Fuca waterfall. We gave shade on languorous summer days. John Wise Nolan, in the background, in an Irish National Forester's uniform, doffs his plumed hat. Prosper! Give shade on languorous days, trees of Ireland! The ewes, who came to Palafuca with the high school excursion, who left his nut-questing classmates to seek our shade. Bloom. I was in my 10s, a growing boy. A little then sufficed, a jolting car, the mingling odors of the ladies' cloakroom and lavatory. The throng penned tight on the old royal stairs, for they love crushes, instinct of the herd, and the dark, sex-smelling theater unbridles vice. Even a price list of their hosiery. And then, the heat. There were sunspots that summer, end of school, and tipsy cake. Halcyon days. The halcyon days speak. Mackerel! Live us again! Hooray! Bloom. Again, I feel 16. What a lark! Let's ring all the bells in Montague Street. Hooray for the high school! The echo says, full! The ewes. She is right, our sister. Whisper. Who profaned our silent shade? The nymph. There, in the open air? The ewes. Sister, yes, and on our virgin sword. The waterfall. Palafuca, 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 Palafuca. The nymph. Oh, infamy! Bloom. I was precocious, youth, the fawns. I sacrificed to the god of the forest. The flowers that bloom in the spring. It was pairing time. Capillary attraction is a natural phenomenon. Lottie Clark. Flaxen-haired. I saw at her night toilet through ill-closed curtains, with poor Papa's opera glasses. The wanton ate grass wildly. She rolled downhill at Rialto Bridge to tempt me with her flow of animal spirits. She climbed their crooked tree, and I, a saint, couldn't resist it. The demon possessed me. Besides, who saw? Staggering Bob. Me see. Bloom. Simply satisfying a need. No girl would when I went girling. Too ugly. They wouldn't play. The nanny goat. Nanny! Bloom. Regularly engaged. Circumstances alter cases. 32 head over heels per second. Press nightmare. Giddy Elijah. Fall from cliff, sad end of government's printer's clerk. The dummy mummy. Counselor Nanetti. When my country takes her place among the nations of the earth, then, and not until then, let my epitaph be written. I have Bloom. Done. The nymph. We immortals, as you saw today, have not such a place, and no hair there either. We are stone cold and pure. We eat electric light. Spoke to me. Heard from behind. How then could you bloom? Oh, I have been a perfect pig. Enemas too. I have administered 1/3 of a pint of quassia, to which add a tablespoonful of rock salt, up the fundament, with Hamilton long syringe, the lady's friend. The nymph, in my presence, the powder puff, and the rest. Bloom. Yes, I have paid homage on that living altar where the back changes name. For why should the dainty scented jeweled hand, the hand that rules, the voice of Kitty, show us one of them cushions, the voice of Florey. Here, the voice of Lynch, whew, piping hot. The voice of Zoe came from a hot place. The voice of Virag, hot, hot, where, Sitting Bull? Bloom. It overpowers me, the warm impress of her warm form, even to sit where a woman has sat, especially with divaricated thighs, as though to grant the last favors, most especially with previously well uplifted white sateen coat pants, so womanly full, it fills me full. The waterfall, Palafuka, 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 Palafuka. The ewes, sister, speak. The nymph, Tranquilla Convent, Sister Agatha, Mount Carmel. The apparitions of Knock and Lords, no more desire, only the ethereal, where dreamy, creamy gull waves o'er the waters dull. The button, Bip. And finally, the sluts. Oh, Leopold lost the pin of his drawers. He didn't know what to do. To keep it up, to keep it up. Thank you very much.
I'm Edward G. Pettit from the Rosenbach Museum and Library in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the home of one of the great James Joyce collections, including the most complete manuscript of Joyce's Ulysses, originally purchased by our founder, Dr. A.S.W. Rosenbach, at auction in 1924. And every year on Bloomsday, we bring Joyce's epic novel to life with a street festival, a day-long public reading with musical performances held on Delancey Place outside the Rosenbach. Circe continued. Bloom, coldly, you have broken the spell, the last straw. If they were only ethereal, where would you all be? Postulants and novices, shy but willing like an ass pissing. The ewes, their silver foil of leaves precipitating, their skinny arms aging and swaying. Deciduously, the nymph, sacrilege, to attempt my virtue. A large moist stain appears on her robe. Sully my innocence. You are not fit to touch the garment of a pure woman. She clutches in her robe. Wait, Satan, you'll sing no more love songs. Amen, 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 amen. She draws a poignard and, clad in the sheath mail of an elected knight of 9, strikes at his loins. Neck 'em! Bloom starts up, seizes her hand. Hoy! Nebracada, cat o' 9 lives. Fair play, madam. No pruning knife. The fox and the grapes, is it? What do you lack with your barbed wire? Crucifix not thick enough? He clutches her veil. A holy abbot you want, or Brophy the lame gardener, or the spoutless statue of the water carrier, or good mother Alphonsus, eh, Renard? The nymph. With a cry, flees from him unveiled, her plaster cast cracking, a cloud of stench escaping from the cracks. "Polly!" Bloom calls after her. "As if you didn't get it on the double yourselves. No jerks and multiple mucosities all over you. I tried it. Your strength, our weakness. What's our stud fee? What will you pay on the nail? You fee-men dancers on the Riviera, I read." The fleeing nymph raises a keen. "Eh? I have 16 years of black slave labor behind me, and would a jury give me 5 shillings alimony tomorrow, eh? Fool someone else, not me." He sniffs. "But onions, stale, sulphur, grease." The figure of Bella Cohen stands before him. "You'll know me the next time." Bloom, composed, regards her. "Passé. Mutton dressed as lamb, long in the tooth and superfluous hair. A raw onion the last thing at night would benefit your complexion. And take some double chin drill. Your eyes are as vapid as the glass eyes of your stuffed fox. They have the dimensions of your other features, that's all. I'm not a triple screw propeller." Bella, contemptuously. "You're not game, in fact." Her sow cunt barks. "Fracht!" Bloom, contemptuously. "Clean your nailless middle finger first. The cold spunk of your bully is dripping from your coxcomb. Take a handful of hay and wipe yourself." Bella, "I know you, canvasser. Dead cod." Bloom, "I saw him, kip keeper, pox and gleet vendor." Bella turns to the piano. "Which of you was playing the Dead March from Saul?" Zoe, "Me." "Mind your cornflowers." She darts to the piano and bangs chords on it with crossed arms. The cats ramble through the slag. She glances back. "Eh? Who's making love to my sweeties?" She darts back to the table. "What's yours is mine, and what's mine is my own." Kitty, disconcerted, coats her teeth with the silver paper. Bloom approaches Zoe. Bloom, gently. "Give me back that potato, will you?" Zoe, "Forfeits, a fine thing and a superfine thing." Bloom, with feeling, "It is nothing, but still a relic of poor mama." Zoe, "Give a thing and take it back. God'll ask you where is that. You'll say you don't know. God'll send you down below." Bloom, "There is a memory attached to it. I should like to have it." Stephen, "To have or not to have, that is the question." Zoe, "Here." She hauls up a reef of her slip, revealing her bare thigh, and unrolls the potato from the top of her stocking. "Those that hides knows where to find." Bella frowns. "Here, this isn't a musical peep show, and don't you smash that piano. Who's paying here?" She goes to the pianola. Stephen fumbles in his pocket and, taking out a banknote by its corner, hands it to her. Stephen, with exaggerated politeness, "This silken purse I made out of the so's ear of the public. Madam, excuse me, if you allow me." He indicates vaguely Lynch and Bloom. "We are all in the same sweepstake, Kinch and Lynch. Don se baudet o tenon nostraita." Lynch calls from the hearth. "Daedalus, give her your blessing for me." Stephen hands Bella a coin. "Gold." She has it. Bella looks at the money, then at Zoe, Florey, and Kitty. "Do you want 3 girls? It's 10 shillings here." Stephen delightedly, 100,000 apologies. He fumbles again and takes out and hands her 2 crowns. "Permit, brevi manu, my sight is somewhat troubled." Bella goes to the table to count the money while Stephen talks to himself in monosyllables. Zoe bends over to the table. Kitty leans over Zoe's neck. Lynch gets up, writes his cap, and, clasping Kitty's waist, adds his head to the group. Florey strives heavily to rise. "Ow! My foot's asleep!" She limps over to the table. Bloom approaches. Bella, Zoe, Kitty, Lynch, Bloom, chattering and squabbling. The gentleman, 10 shillings, paying for the 3. Allow me a moment. This gentleman pays separate. Who's touching it? Ow! Mind who you're pinching. Are you staying the night or a short time? Who did? You're a liar. Excuse me. The gentleman paid down like a gentleman. Drink. It's long after 11. Stephen, at the pianola, making a gesture of abhorrence. No bottles. What, 11? A riddle. Zoe, lifting up her petty gown and folding a half-sovereign into the top of her stocking. Hard-earned on the flat of my back. Lynch, lifting Kitty from the table. Come. Kitty, wait. She clutches the 2 crowns. Florey, and me? Lynch, hoopla! He lifts her, carries her, and bumps her down on the sofa. Stephen, the fox crew, the cocks flew, the bells in heaven were striking 11. 'Tis time for her, poor soul, to get out of heaven. Bloom quietly lays a half-sovereign on the table between Bella and Florey. So, allow me. He takes up the pound note. 3 times 10. We're square. Bella, admiringly. You're such a sly boots, old cocky. I could kiss you. Zoe points. Him? Deep as a draw well. Lynch bends Kitty back over the sofa and kisses her. Bloom goes with the pound note to Stephen. Bloom, this is yours. Stephen, how is that? Le distrait? Or absent-minded beggar? He fumbles again in his pocket and draws out a handful of coins. An object falls. That fell. Bloom, stooping, picks up and hands a box of matches. This? Stephen. Lucifer. Thanks. Bloom, quietly. You had better hand over that cash to me to take care of. Why pay more? Stephen hands him all his coins. Be just before you are generous. Bloom, I will, but is it wise? He counts. 1, 7, 11, and 5, 6, 11. I don't answer for what you may have lost.
Hi there, my name is Kait Manning, and I'm a bookseller here at Philip J. Parage's Fine Books and Manuscripts. And today we're really excited to be featuring a pretty remarkable copy of Ulysses from our stock. It's actually inscribed by Joyce to H.G. Wells, who was a really early supporter and pretty key to establishing his literary reputation early on. When Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man came out, Wells reviewed that book in 1916 and praised its, quote, quintessential and unfailing reality, and called it by far the most living and convincing picture that exists of an Irish Catholic upbringing. The two men didn't meet until about 12 years later in Paris, at which time Joyce inscribed the present copy of his masterwork to Wells. This is the 9th printing of the first edition, and our copy is rebound in a really evocative, modern binding by the artist Sally Lou Smith. It's abstract, there's a grim gray background and multicolored inlays that seem to march across the rear edge, down around the spine and across the front again. For us, it really calls to mind the peregrinations of Bloom across Dublin and the characters and places that he encounters. So without further ado, I will be reading our section with the help of my colleague, Jill Mann. Stephen. Why, striking 11. Proper Occitan. Moment before the next blessing, says Thirsty Fox. He laughs loudly. Burying his grandmother, probably killed her. Bloom. That is £1.6 and 11. £1.7, say. Stephen. Doesn't matter a rambling dam. Bloom. No, but. Stephen comes to the table. Cigarette, please. Lynch tosses a cigarette from the sofa to the table. And so, Georgina Johnson is dead and married. A cigarette appears on the table. Stephen looks at it. Wonder. Parlor magic. Married. He
He strikes a match and proceeds to light the cigarette with enigmatic melancholy. Lynch, watching him.
You would have a better chance of lighting it if you held the match nearer.
Stephen brings the match nearer his eye.
Lynx eye. Must get glasses. Broke them yesterday, 16 years ago. Distance. The eye sees all flat.
He draws the match away. It goes out.
Brain thinks. Near. Far. Ineluctable modality of the visible.
He frowns mysteriously.
Sphinx. The beast that has two backs at midnight. Married.
Zoe.
It was a commercial traveler married her and took her away with him.
Florey nods.
Mr. Lamb from London.
Stephen.
Lamb of London, who takest away the sins of our world.
Lynch, embracing Kitty on the sofa, chants deeply.
Dona nobis pacem.
The cigarette slips from Stephen's fingers. Bloom picks it up and throws it into the gate. Bloom.
Don't smoke. You ought to eat. Cursed dog I met.
To Zoe.
You have nothing.
Zoe.
Is he hungry?
Stephen extends his hand to her smiling and chants to the air of the blood oath in the dusk of the gods.
Hagende Hunger, fragende Frau, macht uns alle kaputt.
Zoe, tragically.
Hamlet, I am thy father's gimlet.
She takes his hand.
Blue Eyes Beauty, I'll read your hand.
She points to his forehead.
No wit, no wrinkles.
She counts.
2, 3, Mars, that's courage.
Stephen shakes his head.
No kid.
Lynch.
Sheet lightning courage, the youth who could not shiver and shake.
To Zoe.
Who taught you palmistry?
Zoe turns.
Ask my bollocks that I haven't got.
To Stephen.
I see it in your face. The eye, like that.
She frowns with lowered head. Lynch, laughing, slaps Kitty behind twice.
Like that, pandy bat.
Twice loudly, a pandy bat cracks. The coffin of the pianola flies open. The bald tittle-round jack-in-the-box head of Father Dolan springs up. Father Dolan.
Any boy want a flogging? Broke his glasses? Lazy, idle little schemer, see it in your eye.
Mild, benign, rectorial, reproving. The head of Don John Connie rises from the pianola coffin. Don John Connie.
Now, Father Dolan, now I'm sure that Stephen is a very good little boy.
Zoe, examining Stephen's palm.
Woman's hands.
Stephen murmurs.
Continue, lie, hold me, caress. I never could read his handwriting except his criminal thumbprint on the haddock.
Zoe.
What day were you born?
Stephen.
Thursday. Today.
Zoe.
Thursday's child has far to go.
She traces lines on his hand.
Line of fate. Influential friends.
Florey, pointing.
Imagination.
Zoe.
Mount of the moon. You'll meet with a...
She peers at his hands abruptly.
I won't tell you what's not good for you. What do you want to know?
Bloom detaches her fingers and offers his palm.
More harm than good. Here, read mine.
Bella. Psh.
Show.
She turns up Bloom's hand.
I thought so. Knobby knuckles for the women.
Zoe, peering at Bloom's palm.
Gridiron. Travels beyond the sea and marry money.
Bloom.
Wrong.
Zoe, quickly.
Oh, I see. Short little finger. Hen-pecked husband. That wrong?
Black Liz, a huge rooster hatching in a chalked circle, rises, stretches her wings and clucks. Black Liz.
Cloop, cloop, cloop.
She sidles from her new-leg egg and waddled off. Bloom points to his hand.
That wheel there is an accident. Fell and cut it 22 years age. I was 16.
Zoe.
I see, says the blind man. Tell us news.
Stephen.
See. Moves to one great goal. I am 22 too. 16 years ago, I 22 tumbled. 22 years ago, he 16 fell off his hobby horse.
He winces.
Hurt my hand somewhere. Must see a dentist. Money.
Zoe whispers to Florey. They giggle. Bloom releases his hand and writes idly on the table in backhand, penciling slow curves. Florey.
What?
A hackney car, number 324, with a gallant buttocked mare, driven by James Barton, Harmony Avenue, Donnybrook, trots past. Blazes Boylan and Lenahan sprawl swaying on the side seats. The Ormond Boots crouches behind on the axle. Sadly, over the crossblind, Lydia Douce and Mina Kennedy gaze. The boots. Jogging mocks them with thumb and wriggling worm fingers.
Ha ha, have you the horn?
Bronzed by gold, they whisper. Zoe to Florey. Whisper. They whisper again. Over the well of the car, Blazes Boylan leans, his boater straw set sideways, a red flower in his mouth. Lenahan, in a yachtsman's cap and white shoes, officiously detaches a long hair from Blazes Boylan's shoulder. Lenahan.
Ho, what do I here behold? Were you brushing the cobwebs off a few quims?
Boylan, sated, smiles.
Plucking a turkey.
Lenahan.
A good night's work.
Boylan, holding up 4 thick, bluntungulated fingers, winks.
Blazes, Kait. Up to sample or your money back?
He holds out a forefinger.
Smell that.
Lenahan smiles gleefully.
Ah, lobster and mayonnaise. Ah.
Zoe and Florey laugh together.
Ha 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 ha.
Boylan jumps surely from the car and calls loudly for all to hear. Hello, Bloom. Mrs. Bloom up yet? Bloom, in a flunky's plum plush coat and knee breeches, buff stockings and powdered wig. I'm afraid not, sir. The last articles, Boylan tosses him 6 pence. Here, to buy yourself a gin and a splash. He hangs his hat smartly on a peg of Bloom's antlered head. Show me in. I have a little private business with your wife. You understand? Bloom. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Madam Tweedy is in her bath, sir. Marion. He ought to feel himself highly honored. She plops, splashing out of the water. Raoul, darling, come and dry me. I'm in my pelt. Only my new hat and a carriage sponge. Boylan, a merry twinkle in his eye. Topping. Bella, what is it? Zoe whispers to her. Marion, let him look, the pishog, pimp, and scourge himself. I'll write to a powerful prostitute, or Bartholomona, the bearded woman, to raise wheels out on him, an inch thick, and make him bring me back a signed and stamped receipt. Bella, laughing. Ho 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 ho! Boylan, to Bloom over his shoulder. You can apply your eye to the keyhole and play with yourself while I just go through her a few times. Bloom. Thank you, sir. I will, sir. May I bring 2 men chums to witness the deed and take a snapshot? He holds an ointment jar. Vaseline, sir? Orange flower? Lukewarm water? Kitty, from the sofa. Tell us, Florey, tell us, what? Florey whispers to her. Whispering love words, murmur lip-lapping loudly, popismic, plop-slop. Mina Kennedy, her eyes upturned. Oh, it must be like the scent of geraniums and lovely peaches. Oh, he simply idolizes every bit of her. Stuck together, covered with kisses. Lydia Douce, her mouth opening. Yum, yum. Oh, he's carrying her round the room, doing it. Ride a cock horse. You could hear them in Paris and New York, like mouthfuls of strawberries and cream. Kitty, laughing. Hee hee hee. Boylan's voice. Sweetly, hoarsely, in the pit of his stomach. Oh, Goobla Zakruk Brakar crashed. Marion's voice, hoarsely, sweetly rising to her throat. Oh, wish washed kissem mapushith napuhuk. Bloom, his eyes wildly dilated, clasps himself. Show, hide, show, plow her, more, shoot. Bella, Zoe, Florey, Kitty. Ho ho, ha ha, hee hee. Lynch points. The mirror up to nature. He laughs. Ha 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 ha. Stephen and Bloom gaze in the mirror. The face of William Shakespeare, beardless, appears there, rigid in facial paralysis, crowned by the reflection of the reindeer antlered hat rack in the hall. Shakespeare, in dignified ventriloquy. 'Tis the loud laugh bespeaks the vacant mind. To Bloom, thou thoughtest as thou wastest invisible. gaze. He crows with a black capon's laugh. Iago, go! How my old fellow choke it, his Thursday mammon. Iago, go, go. Bloom smiles yellowly at the whores. When will I hear the joke? Zoe, before you're twice married and once a widower. Bloom, lapses are condoned. Even the great Napoleon, when measurements were taken near the skin after his death, Mrs. Dignam, widow woman, her snub nose and cheeks flushed with death talk, fears, and Tunny's tawny sherry, hurries by in her weeds, her bonnet awry, rouging and powdering her cheeks, lips and nose a pen chivying her brood of cygnets. Beneath her skirt appear her late husband's everyday trousers and turned-up boots, large 8s. She holds a Scottish widow's insurance policy and large marquee umbrella, under which her brood runs with her. Patsy, hopping on one short foot. His collar loose, a hank of pork steaks dangling. Freddie, whimpering. Susie, with a crying cod's mouth. Alice, struggling with the baby. She cuffs them on, her streamers flaunting aloft. Freddie, ah, Ma, you're dragging me along. Susie, Mama, the beef tea is fizzing over. Shakespeare, with paralytic rage. Wait a secka, who killa first? The face of Martin Cunningham, bearded, refeatures Shakespeare's beardless face. The marquee umbrella sways drunkenly. The children run aside. Under the umbrella appears Mrs. Cunningham in merry widow hat and kimono gown. She glides, sidling and bowing, twisting Japanesely. Mrs. Cunningham sings, and they call me the Jewel of Asia. Martin Cunningham gazes on her impassive. Immense, most bloody awful demirep. Stephen, et exaltabuntur cornua insti. Queens lay with prize bulls. Remember, pacify, for whose lust my grand old grossfather made the first confession box. Forget not Madame Grisel Stevens, nor the swine scions of the house of Lambert. And Noah was drunk with wine, and his ark was open. Bella, none of that here. Come to the wrong shop. Lynch, let him alone. He's back from Paris. Zoe runs to Stephen and links him. Oh, go on. Give us some parlez-vous. Stephen claps, hat on head, and leaps over to the fireplace, where he stands with shrugged shoulders, finny hands outspread, and a painted smile on his face. Lynch, pommeling on the sofa. Rum, 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 rum. Stephen gabbles with marionette jerks. 1,000 places of entertainment to expenses your evenings with lovely ladies, sailing gloves and other things, perhaps her heart, beer chops, perfect fashionable house, very eccentric, where lots cocottes, beautiful, dressed much about princesses, like are dancing can and walking there, Parisian clowneries, extra foolish for bachelors, foreigns the same, if talking a poor English, how much smart they are, on things love and sensations voluptuous. Misters very selects for his pleasure must to visit heaven and hell, show with mortuary candles, and they tears silver, which occur every night. Perfectly shocking terrific of religion's things, mockery seen in universal world. All chick womans, which arrive full of modesty, then disrobe and squeal loud to see vampire man debauch nun very fresh young, with dessous troublants. He clacks his tongue loudly. Ho, la la, si pif qui la. Lynch, vive les vampires! The whores, bravo, parlez-vous! Stephen, grimacing with head back, laughs loudly, clapping himself. Great success of laughing. Angels much prostitutes like, and holy apostles big damn ruffians. demi-mondaine, nicely handsome sparkling of diamonds, very amiable costumed. Or do you are fond better what belongs they modern's pleasure, turpitude of old man's? He points about him with grotesque gestures, which Lynch and the whores reply to. Katatok, statue woman, reversible or life-size tompi-toms, virgins, nudities, very lesbic, the kiss 5-10 times. Enter gentlemen to see in mirrors, every position's trapezes, all that machine there besides also, if desire act awfully, bestial butcher boys pollutes in warm veal liver, or omelette on the belly, Pisse de Shakespeare. Bella, clapping her belly, sinks back on the sofa with a shout of laughter. An omelette on the... Ho, 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 ho! Omelette on the... Stephen, mincingly. I love you, sir darling. Speak you Englishman tongue for double entente cordial. Oh yes, mon loup. How much cost? Waterloo? Water closet? He ceases suddenly and holds up a forefinger. Bella, laughing. Omelette. The whores, laughing. Encore! Encore!
Mark me, I dreamt of a watermelon, says Stephen. Go abroad and love a foreign lady, says Zoe. Across the world for a wife, says Lynch. Dreams go by contraries, says Florey. It was here, street of harlots, in Serpentine Avenue, Beelzebub showed me her, a fubsy widow. Where's the red carpet spread? Asks Stephen, extending his arms. Look, says Bloom, approaching Stephen. No, I flew, my foes beneath me, and ever shall be, world without end. Pater, free, Stephen cries. I say, look, says Bloom. Break my spirit, will he? Oh, Mare de Lore. Stephen cries, his vulture talons sharpened. Hola, hilly-ho. Simon Daedalus's voice hillows in answer, somewhat sleepy but ready. That's all right. Simon swoops uncertainly through the air, wheeling, uttering cries of hearkening on strong, ponderous buzzard wings. Ho, boy, are you going to win? Hoop. Chat. Stable with those half-casts. Wouldn't let them within the ball of an ass. Head up. Keep our flag flying. An eagle gules volant in a field argent displayed. Ulster king at arms. Hi, hoop. He makes the beagle's call giving tongue. Bull, bull, burble, burble, burble. Hi, boy. The fronds and spaces of the wallpaper file rapidly across country. A stout fox drawn from covert, brush pointed, having buried his grandmother, runs swift for the open bright-eyed, seeking badger earth under the leaves. The pack of staghounds follows, nose to ground, sniffing their quarry, beagle baying, burble burbling, to be blooded. Ward Union huntsmen and huntswomen live with them, hot for a kill. From 6 Mile Point, Flat House, 9 Mile Stone, follow the foot people with knotty sticks, salmon gaffs, lassos, flock masters with stock whips, bear baiters with tom-toms, toreadors with bull swords, gray, waving torches, the crowd balls of dicers, crown and anchor players, thimble riggers, broadsmen, crows and touts, horse bookies in high wizard hats clamor deafeningly. Card of the races, racing card, 10-1 the field, Tommy on the clay here, Tommy on the clay, 10-1 bar 1, 10-1 bar 1, try your luck on spinning Jenny, 10-1 bar 1, sell the monkey boys, sell the monkey, I'll give 10-1, 10-1 bar 1, shouts the crowd. A dark horse riderless bolts like a phantom past the winning post, his mane moon foaming, his eyeballs stars. The field follows, a bunch of bucking mounts, skeleton horses, Scepter, Maximum II, Zinfandel, the Duke of Westminster's shot over, Repulse, The Duke of Beaufort's Cylon, Prix de Paris, dwarves ride them, rusty armored, leaping in their saddles. Last, in a drizzle of rain, on a broken-winded Isabel nag, cock of the north, the favorite, honey cap, green jacket, orange sleeves, Garrett Deasy up, gripping the reins, a hockey stick at the ready. His nag, stumbling on white-gaitered feet, jogs along the rocky road. "Get down and push, mister. Last lap. You'll be home the night," jeer the orange lodges. Gannett Deary bolts upright, his nail-scraped face plastered with postage stamps, brandishes his hockey stick, his eyes flashing in the prism of the chandelier as his mount lopes by at a schooling gallop. Per vias rectus. A yoke of buckets leopards all over him and his rearing nag, a torrent of mutton broth with dancing coins of carrots, barley, onions, turnips, and potatoes. "Soft day, Sir John, soft day, your honor," say the green lodges. Private Carr, Private Compton, and Sissy Caffrey pass beneath the windows, singing in discord. "Hark, our friend, noise in the street," says Stephen. "Stop," says Zoe, holds up her hand. "Yet I've a sorta Yorkshire relish for," Private Carr, Private Compton, and Sissy Caffrey sing. "That's me!" Zoe claps her hands. "Dance, dance." She runs to the pianola. "Who has a 2p? Who'll," says Bloom. "Here," says Lynch, handing her coins. Stephen cracks his fingers impatiently. "Quick, quick! Where's my auger's rod?" He runs to the piano and takes his ash plant, beating his foot in tripudium. "There." Zoe turns the drum handle. She drops 2 pennies in the slot. Gold, pink, and violet lights start forth. The drum turns purring in low hesitation waltz. Professor Goodwin, in a bow-knotted periwig, in court dress, wearing stained Inverness. Professor Goodwin, in a bow-knotted periwig, in court dress, wearing a stained Inverness cape, bent in two from incredible age, totters across the room, his hands fluttering. He sits tinily on the piano stool and lifts and beats handless sticks of arms on the keyboard, nodding with a damsel's grace, his bow-knot bobbing. Zoe twirls around herself, heel-tapping. "Dance! Anybody here for there? Who'll dance?" The pianola, with changing light, plays in waltz time the prelude of "My Girl's a Yorkshire Girl." Stephen throws his ash plant on the table and seizes Zoe around the waist. Florey and Bella push the table towards the fireplace. Stephen, arming Zoe with exaggerated grace, begins to waltz her around the room. Her sleeve, falling from gracing arms, reveals a white flesh flower of vaccination. Bloom stands aside. Between the curtains, Professor McGeaney inserts a leg on the toe point of which spins a silk hat. With a deft kick, he sends it spinning to his crown and jaunty-hatted skates in. He wears a slate frock coat with claret silk lapels, a gorget of cream tulle, a green low-cut waistcoat, stock collar with white kerchief, tight lavender trousers, patent pumps, and canary gloves. In his buttonhole is a dahlia. He twirls in reverse directions a clouded cane, then wedges it tight in his oxter. He places a hand limply on his breastbone, bows, and fondles his flower and buttons. The poetry of motion, art of calisthenics, no connection with Madame Leggett Burns or Levinstone's, fancy dress balls arranged, deportment, the Caddy Lanner steps. So, watch me, my terpsichorean abilities, McGeaney minuets toward 3 paces on tripping bees' feet. Tout le monde en avant, reverence, tout le monde en place. The prelude ceases. Professor Goodwin, beating vague arms, shrivels, shrinks, his live cape falling about the stool. The air, in firmer waltz time, pounds. Stephen and Zoe circle freely. The lights change, glow, fade, gold, rose, violet. 2 young fellows were talking about their girls, sweethearts they'd left behind, says the pianola. From a corner, the morning hours run out. Golden-haired, slim, in girlish blue, wasp-waisted with innocent hands, nimbly they dance, twirling their skipping ropes. The hours of noon follow in amber gold, laughing, linked, high hair combs flashing. They catch the sun in mocking mirrors, lifting their arms. Carre, avant deux, breathe evenly, balance, says McGeaney. The morning and noon hours waltz in their places, turning, advancing to each other, shaping their The morning and noon hours waltz in their places, turning, advancing to each other, shaping their curves, bowing vis-a-vis. Cavaliers behind them arch and suspend their arms, with hands descending to, touching, rising from their shoulders. You may touch my, say, ours. May I touch your? Ask cavaliers. Oh, but lightly, say ours. Oh, so lightly, say cavaliers. My little shy little lass has a waist, says the pianola. Zoe and Stephen turn boldly with looser swing. The twilight hours advance, from long shadows dispersed, lagging, languid-eyed, okay. The twilight hours advance, from long shadows dispersed, languid-eyed, their cheeks delicate with cypria and false faint bloom. They are in gray gauze with dark bat sleeves that flutter in the land breeze. Avant, traverse, salute, corps de man, croisez, says McGeaney. The night hours steal to the last place. Morning, noon, and twilight hours retreat before them. They are masked with daggered hair and bracelets of dull bells. Weary, they curchy under veils. Hi-oh, say the bracelets. Oh, says Zoe, twisting her hand to her brow.
Hello. My name is Paula Plum. I'm an actor, a director, and an acting coach in Boston, Massachusetts. I am reading Ulysses. Magini, les terroirs, chant de dame, la corbeille, dodo. Arabesquing wearily, they weave a pattern on the floor, weaving, unweaving, curtsying, twisting, simply swirling. Zoe, oh, I'm giddy. She frees herself, droops on a chair. Stephen seizes Florey and turns with her. Magini, boulangère, les rangs, les ponts, chevaux de bois, escargot. Twining, receding with interchanging hands. The night hours link, each with arching arms in a mosaic of movements. Stephen and Florey turn cumbrously. Magini, dansez avec vos dames, changez de dame, donnez le petit bouquet à votre dame, remerciez. The pianola, best of all, para-boom. Kitty jumps up. Oh, they planned that on a hobby horse at the Mirrors Bazaar. She runs to Stephen. He leaves Florey brusquely and seizes Kitty. A screaming bitterns, harsh high whistle shrieks. Groan, grouse gurgling, toffs cumbersome whirligig turns slowly the room right round about the room. The pianola, my girl's a Yorkshire girl. Zoe, Yorkshire through and through. Come on all. She seizes Florey and waltzes with her. Stephen, Puzzle. He wheels Kitty into Lynch's arms, snatches up his ash plant from the table and takes the floor. All wheel, whirl, waltz, twirl, bloom, Bella, Kitty Lynch, Florey, Zoe, Jujubee women. Stephen with hat ash plant, frog splits in middle high kicks, with sky kicking mouth shut hand clasp, part under thigh, with clang, tinkle, boom, hammer, tally-hoo, horn blower, blue, green, yellow, flashes, toffs, cumbersome turns with hobby horse riders, from gilded snakes dangled, bowels, fandango, leaping spurn, soil, foot, and fall again. The pianola, though she's a factory lass and wears no fancy clothes. Clothes clutched, swift, swifter with glare, blare, flare, scudding they scot loot shoot lumbering by. Bada-boom! Tutti, encore! Beats, bravo, encore! Simon, think of your mother's people! Stephen, dance of death. Bang, fresh barang, bang of lackey's bell, horse, nag, steer, piglings, commie on Christmas lame crutch and leg, sailor in cockboat, arm folded, rope pulling, hitching, stamp, hornpipe, through and through, bada-bum! On nags, hogs, bell horses, Gadarene swine, corny in coffin, steel shark stone, one-handled Nelson, two trickies, Frau on Zimmer, plum strained from pram falling, bawling. Gum, he's a champion. Foos blue, peer from barrel, rev, even song. Love on hackney jaunt. Blazes blind, cod doubled bicyclers, dilly with snow cake, no fancy clothes. Then in last, with switched back, lumbering up and down bump mash sub, sort of viceroy and red relish for tumblummer, bumpshire rose, bada-bum! The couples fall aside. Stephen whirls giddily. Room whirls back. Eyes closed. He totters. Red rails fly spacewards. Stars all around. Suns turn about. Bright midges dance on wall. He stops dead. Stephen, ho! Stephen's mother, emaciated, rises stark through the floor in leper gray with a wreath of faded orange blossoms and a torn bridal veil, her face worn and noseless, green with grave mold. Her hair is scant and lank. She fixes her blue-circled, hollow eye sockets on Stephen and opens her toothless mouth, uttering a silent word. A choir of virgins and confessors sing voicelessly. The choir. Liliata rutilantium te confessorum. Jubilantium te virginino. From the top of a tower, Black Mulligan in party-colored jester's dress of puce and yellow, and clown's cap with curling bells, stands gaping at her, a smoking, buttered, split scone in his hand. She's beastly dead, Buck Mulligan says. The pity of it! Mulligan meets the afflicted mother. He upturns his eyes. Mercurial Malachi! The mother, with a subtle smile of death's madness. I was once beautiful. May Golding. I am dead. Stephen, horror-struck. Lemur, who are you? What boogeyman's trick is this? Buck Mulligan, shakes his curling cap bell. The mockery of it. Kinch killed her dog's body, bitch body. She kicked the bucket. Tears of molten butter fall from his eyes onto the scone. Our great sweet mother, Epi Oinopoponton. The mother comes nearer, breathing upon him softly, her breath of wetted ashes. All must go through it, Stephen. More women than men in the world. You too. Time will come. Stephen, choking with fright, remorse, and horror. They said I killed your mother. He offended your memory. Cancer did it, not I. Destiny. The mother, a green rill of bile trickling from a side of her mouth. You sang that song. You sang that song to me. Love's bitter mystery. Stephen, eagerly, tell me the word, mother, if you know now. The word known to all men. Who saved you the night you jumped onto the train at Dalkey with Paddy Lee? Who had pity for you when you were sad among the strangers? Prayer is all-powerful. Prayer for the suffering souls in the Ursuline Manual and 40 days indulgence. Repent, Stephen. Stephen, the ghoul, hyena. The mother, I pray for you in my other world. Get Dilly to make you that boiled rice every night after your brain work. Years and years I loved you. Oh, my son, my firstborn, when you lay in my womb. Zoe, fanning herself with a great fan. Oh, I'm melting. Florey points to Stephen. Look, he's white. Bloom goes to the window to open it more. Giddy. The mother, with smouldering eyes, repent. Oh, the fire of hell. Stephen, panting, the corpse chewer, raw head and bloody bones. The mother, her face drawing nearer and nearer, sending out an alarm breath. Beware! She raises her black and withered right arm slowly towards Stephen's breast. With outstretched fingers, beware! God's hand! A green crab with malignant red eyes sticks deep its grinning claws in Stephen's heart. Stephen, strangled with rage, shite! His features grow drawn and grey and old. Bloom, what? Stephen, no, par exemple, the intellectual imagination. With me, all or not at all, non serviatum. Florey, give him some cold water, wait. She rushes out. The mother wrings her hands slowly, mourning desperately. Oh, Sacred Heart of Jesus, have mercy on him. Save him from hell, oh, divine Sacred Heart. Stephen, no, break my spirit, all of you, if you can. I'll bring you all to heel. The mother, in the agony of her death rattle. Oh, mercy on Stephen, Lord, for my sake. Inexpressible was my anguish when expiring with love, grief, and agony on Mount Calvary. Stephen, nothing. He lifts his ash plant high with both hands and smashes the chandelier. Time's livid final flame leaps, and in the following darkness, ruin of all space, shattered glass and toppling masonry. The gas jet, Bloom, stop! Lynch rushes forward and seizes Stephen's hand. Here, hold on, don't run amok. Bella, police! Stephen, abandoning his ash plant, his head and arms thrown back stark, beats the ground and flees from the room past the whores at the door. Bella screams, after him! The two whores rush to the hall doors. Lynch and Kitty and Zoe stampede from the room. They talk excitedly. Bloom follows, returns. Good night.
I'm Daniel Morgan. I'm from Morgan Books, a small bookshop in Prague. I'm here with James Stearman, who is exhibiting Czech modernism, modernist design, photo books, Holocaust-related, Judaica, and also Art Nouveau design. I'm going to be reading from the first Czech edition of Ulysses, published in 1930. It was translated by Ladislav Vymětal and Jarmila Faustova. Vymětal was an Anglophile who worked for the English Institute in Prague in the 1920s and translated or wrote a number of English language books to learn English for the Czechs. I assume that he probably had plenty of people, native English speakers, to consult at the English Institute. So he probably had an advantage over other Czech translators, possibly why he was chosen for the project. And Jarmila Faustova was a prolific translator. She translated Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse and also Apollinaire in the 1920s, and she translated all the way through the 1960s. Truman Capote she translated, so she was considered a specialist in English translations to Czech. So I'm reading in Czech from the Circe part, and this translation in 1930 I don't think is considered by Czechs today to be an excellent translation. It was later translated in 1976 during the communist period, and then after the Velvet Revolution in the early 1990s. I've been living in the Czech Republic for 30 years. I feel at times fluent in the language. I'm not a native speaker, but for the native Czechs who hear this and are offended from my butchering of some of the passages, I remind you, Leopold Bloom was also an outsider, or felt like an outsider looking in, so it's very appropriate. Magini, les tiroirs, chant de dames, la courbée, dos à dos. Unavně se točí v arabeskách, kresly na podlaze vzorek, střádají jej, prostřádají, klaní se, točí se, prostě víří. Zoe, točí se mi hlava, vymáne se, klesne na židli, Štěpán uchopí Florey a točí se s ní. Magini, boulanger, les rondes, les pompes, chevaux de bois, escargot, propletající se, ustupující, měnící ruce, noční hodiny se vezmou pod páží, všechny se ruceme do oblouku, v mozaice pochybu. Štěpán a Florey se těžce točí. Magini, dansez avec vos dames, changez de dames, donnez le petit bouquet à votre dame, remerciez. Pianola, ze všech je nejlepší hombom. Kitty, vyskočí. Aha, to hráli u kolotoča o Mirově bazáru. Běží ke Štěpánovi, jenže náhle pustí Florey a popadne Kitty. Zazí pronikavý vřesných hvězdot skřícejícího bukače. Stěnavě jako třetřev, rakavě se pozvolna točí. To tu těžko padne kolotoč, okolo pokoje. Pianola. Já mám divenku z Yorkshireu. Zoe. A tam ji každý zná. Všechny dokola. Uchopí Florey a točí ji. Štěpán. Posol! Přitočí Kitty do náruče Lynčovej, popadne svou jasonovou hůl se stolu a postaví se dokola. Všecko se točí, krouží, běží, motá. Blumbele, Kitty Lynch, Florey Zoe, Jujubovi ženy, Štěpán se kloboukem, jasanovou holí jako žaba, roztážený uprostřed vysoka, vychazuje nohama, ústa k nebesům zavřena, ruce zvírá, rozvírá, pod stěhnem a hřmotem, cinkotem, pekelný lamozem, halalý zvuk rohu, blízka se zeleně, žlutě, totu těžkopádně se točí, si jezdí na konečkách, choupá se na zlacených chadek, vnitřnosti, tančí fandango, skačou, šlapou, čistě staví se a zase upadají. Pianola. A třeba, že je fabrička a naparado nemá. V pevném obětí rychleji, třeskně, břeskně, přesným krokem metu si pohrnou si hřmotně mimo. Bum bum. Tutti. Encore, bis, bravo, encore. Šimon. Myslí na rodinu své matky. Štěpán. Tanec smrti. Bim znovu bimbám, lokají v zvonku, kůň, herka, faka, posvinčata, komina kristovským oslu, kulavý brle, dřevěně noha na možník v lodičce, tahan za šnuru, zableskavé ruce založný dudy, tam ji každý zná bombom. Na hrkách vrpšik, koník s roničkami, gararenský svině, koní v rakvi. Ocelový žralok, jednou ruky, Nelson dvě filuty, Frauenzimmer od švestek, přištěný spadnou z dětského kočárku hřvou. Guma je vítěz. Prskavitě namodraly oči ze sudu, důstojný pán v černým zpěv, láska na drožkarský, kobily, klusa, setce slepý v půli, přelomený cyklisty díly se sněmovým drtem nemá na parádu. Pak v posledním čarodějně černým těžkým kroku vzhůru dolů žucha vystrýcí Kait, tak něco pro místo krále a královnu. Mám rád valí Kait, růžičku z Bimbamska. Bum bum. Dvojici se rozestoupí. Štěpán se motá jako opilý. Pokoj se přitočí zpět s očima zavřenými. Štěpán vrábora. Červené kolenice letí do prostoru. Hvězdy okolo celého slunce se utáčí kol dokola. Na zdi tančí světlí komáři. Štěpán stane jako přikovaný. Štěpán. Hou! Štěpánova matka vyhubla, vystoupí přímo z podlahy v šatě šedivým jako malomocenství s věncem ze zvadlých pomerančových květů a roztrženým svatebním závojem. Tvář rozežranou a bez nosou, zelenou od chrobově plísně. Její vlasy jsou spory a tenký, utví svými modří okrouženými dutými očními důlky na Štěpánovi a otevře bezzubá ústa pro našajíc němý slovo. Spor panen a vyznavačů zpívá bezhlasně. Spor. Leliata rutilantium te confessorum, jubilantium te virginum. Na vrchole jakýsi věží stojí Buck Mulligan v strakatým šaškovým oděvu, plechově hnědem a žlutém, v augustovské čepici s rolničkami a civí na ní. Drže v ruce dílec maslem pomázaný pšeničného koláče, z něhož se kouří. Buck Mulligan. Natála Bačkory. Taková škoda. Mulligan se setkává s matkou sedmi bolestnou. Obratí oči k nebi. Mrkorovský Malachy. Matka. Se subtilným a šíleným úsměvem smrti. Byla jsem kdysi krásná May Guldinová. Jsem mrtvá. Štěpán. Zachvácen hrůzou. Lemur. Grosse. Co je to za kejchlirský kousek? Pak Mulligan. Zatřese svou čapkou s rolničkami. Ta ironie toho. Kinč zabil její psí čupčí tělo. Natáhla pantofle. Slzy z rozpoštěného masla mu padají z očí do koláče. Naše veliká sladká matka. Epi Oinopa Ponton. Matka. Přistupuje blíže. Sleka na něho, vyděkuje svůj děk ulitýho popela. Všechny tudy musíme projít, Štěpáne. Více žen než muže je na světě. Ty taky. Přijde tvá hodina. Štěpán. Duší se děsem, vyčítkami a hrůzou. Podívají, že jsem tě zabil, matko. On urazil tvou památku, rakovina tě usmrtila, ne já. Osud. Matka. Z koutku úst jí vytrstně zelený pramenek z luči. Zpíval se mi tu píseň, lásky horšský taj. Štěpán. Diktivě. Řekni mi to slovo, matko. Vyšli je teď. To slovo je známý všem lidem. Matka. Kdo tě zachránil tenkrát večer, když jsi skočil do vlaku v dálky s padým Liem? Kdo s tebou cítil lítost, když jsi byl smutný mezi cizími? Modlitba je všemohoucí. Modlitba za dušičky v očistic, v kancionálech Uršulinek a 40 dnů opustku. Kaj se, Štěpáne. Štěpán. Gůl. Hyena. Matka. Modlím se za tebe na onom světě. Řekni Dilly, že ty má každý večer dělat varženou rýži, aby se zotavil po své duševní práce. Roky a roky jsem tě miloval. O synu můj prvorozený, když jsem tě nosil pod srdcem. Zoe. Obývá se krbovou za stěnou, já se ropouštím. Florey. Ukazuje na Štěpána. Hledte, jak je byli. Bloom. Jako oknu, aby je víc otevřel. Zavrať. Matka. V očí jí doutnou. Kaj se. O, ten pekelný oheň. Štěpán. Rozžírač mrtvo. Pohádky o strašidlech. Matka. Její tvář se blíží stále víc a víc. Vychází z ní popelový dech. Dej si pozor. Zvedne svou zčernalou sesklou pravou ruku s napráženými z prsty. Pozvolnou k prsům Štěpánovým. Dej si pozor. Ruka paně. Zelený ruce se zlýma červenýma očima. Ne své šklebná klepata Štěpánovi hluboko do srdce. Štěpán. Dusí se vztekem. Hovno. Jeho rysy se strhají a zešedivějí a zestárnou. Bloom. U okna. Co? Štěpán. No, par exemple. Intelektuální obrazotvornost. Já buď všechno nebo vůbec nic. Non serviam. Florey. Honem mu dejte trochu studené vody. Počkejte. Kvapí ven. Matka. Pomalu lomí rukami a zoufala stena. O nejsvětější srdce Ježíšovo, smiluj se nad ním, zachrán ho před oněm pěkelným, o největším srdce Paně. Štěpán, ne, jen zkuste, skrušíte-li mého ducha. Vy všichni zde můžete-li, abych já skrušil vašeho. Matka, v ropotu své smrtelné agonii, smiluje se nad Štěpánem, Hospodyně, v jméno mým. Nejvyslovná byla má úzkost, když jsem umíral láskou, žalem a bolestný na kože Kalvárii. Štěpán, Nothing, zvedne vysoko oběma rukama svou jasanovou hůl a udeří do lustru. Čas s plánem posledním síleným plamenem a vzniknuvšní tmě se hrotí prostor, roztříštěný sklo a bortící zdivo. Plynový hořák. Bloom. Zadržte. Lynch přiskočí a uchopí Štěpána za ruku. Sem, držte ho, přestaňte řádit. Bella. Patrol. Štěpán pusí svou jasanovou hůl, ruce a hlavu strnule ztratí zpět, dupe do podlahy a prká se místností mimo nevěstky ve dveřích. Bella. Ječí, za ním! Dvě nevěstky se ženou k dveřím předsíně. Lynch, Kitty a Zoe divoucí prkají z místnosti. Rozčíleně mluví. Bloom jík nasleduje, vrací se.
Okay, I'm Jonathan Funke.
And I'm Kelly Funke.
And we are here to read an excerpt from episode 15, which is filled with all sorts of brawling and disagreements and people watching. So we thought that the natural place to do it would be here in Central Park. And so we're going to stroll through here. We're not looking to get into any actual fisticuffs with orange men or to dicker over the price of services with any actual ladies of the evening, but it is a good place to rub shoulders with robbers and ghosts and giants and old men. So we're going to find a spot here in one of our favorite spots, which is here in the Conservatory Gardens. And I think we can find a little bench right here, and it ought to be quite lovely. So whew. All right, are we all situated?
Situated.
Okay, which one's mine? There we are. Thank you.
You're welcome. There's your water.
Thank you very much. Well, we need that. That's a trick of the trade, is staying hydrated.
All right. Ready?
Ready to start?
The whores.
Down there.
Zoe.
There. There's something up.
Bella.
Who pays for the lamp?
She seizes Bloom's coattail.
There. You were with him. Lamp's broken.
Bloom rushes to the hall, rushes back.
What lamp, woman?
A whore.
He tore his coat.
Bella.
Who's to pay for that?
Hard with anger and cupidity.
Who's to pay for that? 10 shillings. You're a witness.
Bloom snatches up Stephen's ash plant.
Me? 10 shillings? Haven't you lifted enough off him? Didn't he?
Bella, loudly.
Here, none of your tall talk. This isn't a brothel. 10 shilling house.
Bloom, his hand under the lamp, pulls the chain. Pulling, the gas jet lights up a crushed mauve purple shade. He raises the ash plant.
Only the chimney's broken. Here is all he...
Bella shrinks back and screams.
Jesus, don't!
Bloom, warding off a blow.
To show you how he hit the paper. There's not a sixpence worth of damage done. 10 shillings.
Florey, with a glass of water, enters.
Where is he?
Bella.
Do you want me to call the police?
Bloom.
Oh, I know. Bulldog on the premises. But he's a Trinity student. Patron of your establishment. Gentleman that paid the rent.
He makes a Masonic sign.
Know what I mean? Nephew of the Vice-Chancellor. You don't want a scandal.
Bella, angrily.
Ah, Trinity! Coming down here ragging after the boat races and paying nothing. You my commander here? Where is he? I'll charge him. Disgrace him, I will.
She shouts.
Zoe!
Bloom, urgently.
And if it were your own son at Oxford.
Warningly.
I know.
Bella, almost speechless.
Who are you, incog?
Zoe.
There's a row on.
Bloom.
What? Where?
He throws a shilling on the table and shouts.
That's for the chimney. Where? I need mountain air.
He hurries out through the hall. The horrors point. Florey follows, spilling water from her tilted tumbler. On the doorstep, all the whores clustered talk volubly, pointing to the right where the fog is cleared off.
From the left arrives a jingling hackney car. It slows to in front of the house. Bloom at the hall door perceives Corny Kelleher, who is about to dismount from the car with 2 silent ledgers. He averts his face.
Bella, from within the hall, urges on her whores. They blow icky, lickety, stickety, yum-yum kisses. Corny Kelleher replies with a ghostly, lewd smile. The silent lechers turn to pay the jarvey. Zoe and Kitty still point right.
Bloom, parting them swiftly, draws his caliph's hood and poncho and hurries down the steps with sideways face. Incog Haroun al-Rashid, he flits behind the silent lechers and hastens on by the railings with fleet step of a pard strewing the drag behind him, torn envelopes drenched in aniseed. The ash plant marks his stride.
A pack of bloodhounds, led by Hornblower of Trinity, brandishing a dog whip in tally-ho cap and an old pair of gray trousers, follows from far. Picking up the scent, nearer, baying, panting, at fault, breaking away, throwing their tongues, biting his heels, leaping at his tail.
He walks, runs, zigzags, gallops, legs laid back. He is pelted with gravel, cabbage stumps, biscuit boxes, eggs, potatoes, dead codfish, women's slipper slappers. After him, fresh found, the hue and cry zigzag gallops in hot pursuit of Follow My Leader, 65C, 66C Night Watch, John Henry Menton, Wisdom Healy, V.B. Dillon, Counselor Nanetti, Alexander Keyes,
Larry O'Rourke, Joe Coffey, Mrs. O'Dowd, Pisser Burke, the nameless one,
Mrs. Reardon, the citizen, Gary Owen, what do you call him, strange face, a fellow that's like, saw him before, Chapwith.
Chris Callanan, Sir Charles Cameron, Benjamin Dollard, Lenahan, Bartel d'Arcy, Joe Himes, Red Murray, Editor Braden, T.M. Healy, Mr. Justice Fitzgibbon, John Howard Parnell.
Hey, we saw that family at the Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. What's up with this obsession with the Parnells and James Joyce? Oh, Irish nationalism, that's it.
The Reverend Sinead Salmon, Professor Jolie, Mrs. Breen, Dennis Breen, Theodore Purefoy, Nina Purefoy.
The Westland Row postmistress, C.P. McCoy, friend of Lyons, Hoppy Holohan, man in the street, other man in the street.
Football boots, pug-nosed driver, rich Protestant lady.
David Byrne, Mrs. Ellen McGinnis, Mrs. Joe Gallagher, George Lidwell, Jimmy Henry on corns.
Superintendent Laracy, Father Cowley, Crafton out of the Collector Generals.
Dan Dawson, dental surgeon Bloom, with tweezers.
Mrs. Bob Doran, Mrs. Kennefic, Mrs. Wise Nolan.
John Wise Nolan.
Handsome married woman.
Rubbed against wide behind.
In close Catram.
The booksellers of Sweet of Sin.
Mrs. Dubedat.
And she did bedad.
Mesdames Gerald and Stanislaus Morin of Roebuck.
The managing clerk of Drimmy's, Colonel Hayes, Mastiansky.
Citron Penrose.
Aaron Figatner, Moses Herzog, Michael E. Garrigy.
Inspector Troy.
Mrs. Galbraith.
The constable off Eccles Street corner. Old Dr. Brady with stethoscope.
The mystery man on the beach. A retriever.
Mrs. Miriam Dandrade.
And all their lovers.
The hue and cry. Helter skelter, pelter welter.
He's Bloom, stop, robber. Hi, hey, stop him on the corner.
At the corner of Beaver Street, beneath the scaffolding, Bloom, panting, stops on the fringe of the noisy quarreling knot. A lot not knowing a jot what hi, row and wrangle round the who-what brawl all together. Stephen, with elaborate gestures, breathing deeply and slowly.
You are my guests. The uninvited, by virtue of the 5th of George and 7th of Edward. History to blame. Fabled by mothers of memory.
Private car.
Was he insulting you?
Stephen.
Addressed her in the vocative feminine, probably neuter, ungenitive.
Voices.
No, he didn't. Girls telling lies. He was in Mrs. Cohen's. What's up? Soldiers and civilians.
Sissy Caffrey.
I was in company with the soldiers and they left me to do, and the young man ran up behind me. But I'm faithful to the man that's treating me, though I'm only a shilling whore.
Stephen catches sight of Kitty's and Lynch's heads.
Hail Sisyphus!
He points to himself and the others.
Poetic. Neo-poetic.
Voices.
She's faithful to the man.
Sissy Caffrey.
Yes, to go with him. And me with a soldier friend.
Private Compton.
He doesn't want half a thick ear, the blighter. Biffle on, Harry.
Private Car to Sissy.
Was he insulting you while me and him was having a piss?
Lord Tennyson. In Union Jack blazer and cricket flannels, bareheaded, flowing bearded.
There's not to reason why.
Private Compton.
Biffa Mary.
Stephen to Private Compton.
I don't know your name, but you are quite right. Dr. Swift says 1 man in armor will beat 10 men in their shirts. And shirts is synecdoche. Part for the whole.
Sissy Caffrey to the crowd.
No, I was with the privates.
Stephen, amiably.
Well, why not? The bold soldier boy. In my opinion, every lady, for example.
Private Car, his cap awry, advancing to Stephen.
Say, how would it be, governor, if I was to bash in your jaw?
Stephen looks up in the sky.
How? Very unpleasant. A noble art of self-pretense. Personally, I detest action.
He waves his hand.
Hand hurts me slightly. Enfin, ce sont vos oignons.
To Sissy Caffrey.
Some trouble is on here. What is it precisely?
Dolly Gray, from her balcony, waves her handkerchief, giving the sign of the heroine in Jericho.
Rahab. Cook's son, goodbye. Safe home to Dolly. Dream of the girl you left behind, and she will dream of you.
The soldiers turn their swimming eyes.
Hi, I'm Paul Saint-Amour. I'm recording this in Oxford, but I'm usually to be found in Philadelphia, where I teach Ulysses at the University of Pennsylvania and at the Rosenbach Museum and Library. I've been reading and writing about and teaching Ulysses since 1989, which is a long time ago. And I'm going to be reading from the Circe episode after Stephen and Bloom have left Bella Cohen's brothel and are out in the streets, and Stephen is beginning to have a bit of an altercation with Private Car. Here goes. Bloom, elbowing through the crowd, plucks Stephen's sleeve vigorously. Come now, Professor, that carman is waiting. Stephen turns. Eh? He disengages himself. Why should I not speak to him, or to any human being who walks upright upon this oblate orange? He points his finger. I'm not afraid of what I can talk to if I see his eye. Retaining the perpendicular. He staggers a pace back. Bloom, propping him. Retain your own. Stephen laughs emptily. Ha ha ha! My center of gravity is displaced. I have forgotten the trick. Let us sit down somewhere and discuss. Struggle for life is the law of existence, but modern Philharinists, notably the Tsar and the King of England, have invented arbitration. He taps his brow. But in here it is I must kill the priest and the king. Biddy the clap. Did you hear what the professor said? He's a professor out of the college. Cunty Kait. I did, I heard that. Biddy the clap. He professes himself with much marked refinement of phraseology. Cunty the Kait. Indeed, yes, and at the same time with such apposite trenchancy. Private Car pulls himself free and comes forward. What's that you're saying about my king? Edward VII appears in an archway. He wears a white jersey on which an image of the Sacred Heart is stitched, with the insignia of Garter and Thistle, Golden Fleece, Elephant of Denmark, Skinner's and Probyn's Horse, Lincoln's Inn's Bencher, and Ancient and Honorable Artillery Company of Massachusetts. He sucks a red jujube. He is robed as a Grand Elect Prefect and Sublime Mason with trowel and apron, marked Made in Germany. In his left hand he holds a plasterer's bucket on which is printed Défense d'uriner, A roar of welcome greets him. Edward VII, slowly, solemnly, but indistinctly. Peace, perfect peace. For identification, bucket in my hand. Cheerio, boys. He turns to his subjects. We have come here to witness a clean, straight fight, and we heartily wish both men the best of good luck. Mahak Makara back. He shakes hands with Private Carr, Private Compton, Stephen, Bloom, and Lynch. General applause. Edward VII lifts the bucket graciously in acknowledgement. Private Carr to Stephen. Say it again! Stephen, nervous, friendly, pulls himself up. I understand your point of view, though I have no king myself at the moment. This is the age of patent medicine. A discussion is difficult down here. But this is the point. You die for your country, suppose. He places his arm on Private Carr's sleeve. Not that I wish it for you, but I say, let my country die for me. Up to the present it has done so. I don't want it to die. Damn death! Long live life! Edward VII levitates over heaps of slain in the garb and with the halo of joking Jesus, a white jujube in his phosphorescent face. My methods are new and are causing surprise. To make the blind see, I throw dust in their eyes. Stephen. Kings and unicorns! He falls back a pace. Come somewhere and we'll... What was that girl saying? Private Compton. Hey, Harry, give him a kick in the knackers! Stick one into Jerry! Bloom. To the private softly. He doesn't know what he's saying. Taking a little more than is good for him. Absinthe, the green-eyed monster. I know him. He's a gentleman, a poet. It's all right. Stephen nods, smiling and laughing. Gentleman, patriot, scholar, and judge of impostors. Private Carr. I don't give a bugger who he is. Private Compton. We don't give a bugger who he is. Stephen. I seem to annoy them. Green rag to a bull. Kevin Egan of Paris, in black Spanish tasseled shirt and Peep-a-Day boy's hat, signs to Stephen. Kevin Egan. Lo, bonjour, the vieille ogress with the dents jaunes. Patrice Egan peeps from behind, his rabbit face nibbling a quince leaf. Patrice. Socialiste! Don Emile Patrizio, Frank Rupert Pope Hennessy, in medieval hauberk, 2 wild geese volant on his helm, with noble indignation, points a mailed hand against the privates. Worth those aches to Footboden, big grand porcos of John Yellow's told us covered of gravy. Bloom to Stephen. Come home. You'll get into trouble. Stephen, swaying. I don't avoid it. He provokes my intelligence. Biddy the clap. One immediately observes that he is of patrician lineage. The virago. Green above the red, says he, wolf tone. The bawd. The red's as good as the green and better. Up the soldiers! Up King Edward! A rough laughs. Hi! Hands up to De Witt! The citizen, with a huge emerald muffler and shillelagh, calls. May the God above send down a dove with teeth as sharp as razors to slit the throat of the English dogs that hanged our Irish leaders. The croppy boy, the rope noose round his neck, gripes in his issuing bowels with both hands. I bear no hate to a living thing, but I love my country beyond the king. Rumbled Demon Barber, accompanied by 2 black-masked assistants, advances with a Gladstone bag, which he opens. Ladies and gents, cleaver, purchased by Mrs. Piercy to slay Mogg. Knife with which Voisin dismembered the wife of a compatriot and hid remains in a sheet in the cellar, the unfortunate female's throat being cut from ear to ear. Phial containing arsenic retrieved from the body of Miss Barron, which sent Seddon to the gallows. He jerks the rope. The assistants leap at the victim's legs and drag him downward, grunting. The croppy boy's tongue protrudes violently. The croppy boy. He gives up the ghost. A violent erection of the hanged sends gouts of sperm spouting through his death clothes onto the cobblestones. Mrs. Bellingham, Mrs. Yelverton Barry, and the Honourable Mrs. Mervyn Talboys rush forward with their handkerchiefs to sop it up. Rumbold. I'm near it myself. He undoes the noose. Rope which hanged the awful rebel. 10 shillings a time is applied to his Royal Highness. He plunges his head into the gaping belly of the hanged and draws out his head again, clotted with coiled and smoking entrails. My painful duty has now been done. God save the king!
Hello, this is Aaron Leis with Capitol Hill Books in Washington, D.C. The copy of Ulysses that we're reading from today is a copy of the 9th printing of the Shakespeare and Company edition, not the pirated 9th edition, which was used to accidentally set up the American first edition. The interesting thing about this copy in particular is that it is signed by Joyce in Paris in 1928 on a tipped-in blank leaf. So, pretty cool. Edward VII dances slowly, solemnly, rattling his bucket, and sings with soft contentment. On Coronation Day, oh, won't we have a merry time, drinking whiskey, beer, and wine. Private car. Here, what are you saying about my king? Stephen throws up his hands. Oh, this is too monotonous. Nothing. He wants my money and my life, though want must be his master, for some brutish empire of his. Money I haven't. He searches his pockets vaguely. Gave it to someone. Private car. Who wants your bleeding money? Stephen tries to move off. Will someone tell me where I am least likely to meet these necessary evils? Ce soir voici à Paris. Not that I... But by St. Patrick. The women's heads coalesce. Old gummy granny in sugarloaf hat appears seated on a toadstool, the death flower of the potato blight on her breast. Stephen. Aha! I know you, Gammer. Hamlet, revenge. The old sow that eats her farrow. Old gummy granny, rocking to and fro. Ireland's sweetheart, the king of Spain's daughter, Alana. Strangers in my house, bad manners to them. She keens with banshee woe. Ocone, silk of the kine, she wails. You met with poor old Ireland, and how does she stand? Stephen. How do I stand you? The hat trick. Where's the third person of the Blessed Trinity? Sogar Tharun, the Reverend Carrion Crow. Sissy Caffrey, shrill. Stop them from fighting. A rough. Our men retreated. Private car, tugging at his belt. I'll wring the neck if any bugger says a word about my fucking king. Bloom, terrified. He said nothing, not a word, a pure misunderstanding. The citizen. Aaron go bra. Major Tweedy and the citizen exhibit to each other medals, decorations, trophies of war, wounds. Both salute with fierce hostility. Private Compton. Go at Harry. Do him one in the eye. He's a pro boer. Stephen. Did I? When? Bloom, to the redcoats. We fought for you in South Africa. Irish missile troops. Isn't that history? Royal Dublin Fusiliers. Honored by our monarch. The navvy, staggering past. Oh yes. Oh God, yes. Oh, make the quoir a crowar. Oh, bow. Cast halberdiers in armor thrust forward a pentis of gutted spear points. Major Tweedy, mustached like Turco the Terrible, in bearskin cap with hack plume in accoutrement, with epaulet, gilt chevrons and sabretache, his breast bright with medals, toes the line. He gives the pilgrim's warrior's sign of the Knights Templars. Major Tweedy growls gruffly. Rourke's drift, up guards, and at him, Mahal Shalal Hajbaz. Private car, I'll do him in. Private Compton waves the crowd back. Fair play here. Make a bleeding butcher's shop of the bugger. Masked hands blare Gary Owen and God Save the King. Sissy Caffrey, they're going to fight, for me. Cunty Kait, the brave and the fair. Biddy the clap. Methinks yon sable knight will jousted with the best. Cunty Kait, blushing deeply. Nay, madam, the gules doublet and Mary's St. George for me. Stephen, the harlot's cry from street to street shall weave old Ireland's winding sheet. Private Carr, loosening his belt, shouts, I'll wring the neck if any fucking bastard says a word against my bleeding fucking king. Bloom shakes Sissy Caffrey's shoulders. Speak, you. Are you struck dumb? You are the link between nations and generations. Speak, woman, sacred life-giver. Sissy Caffrey, alarmed, seizes Private Carr's sleeves. Am't I with you? Am't I your girl? Sissy's your girl, she cries. Police! Stephen, ecstatically, to Sissy Caffrey. White thy fambles, red thy gan, and thy quarren's dainty is. Voices. Police! Distant voices. Dublin's burning, on fire, on fire. Brimstone fires up. Dense clouds roll past. Heavy Gatling guns boom. Pandemonium. Troops deploy. Gallops of hooves. Artillery. Hoarse commands. Bells clang. Backers shout. Drunkards brawl. Whores screech. Foghorns hoot. Cries of valor. Shrieks of dying. Pikes clash from cuirasses. Thieves rob the slain. Birds of prey, winging from the sea, rising from marshlands, swooping from eyries, hover, screaming, gannets, cormorants, vultures, goshawks, climbing woodcocks, peregrines, merlins, black grouse, sea eagles, gulls, albatrosses, barnacle geese. The midnight sun is darkened, the earth trembles. The dead of Dublin, from Prospect and Mount Jerome, in white sheepskin overcoats and black goat-fell cloaks arise and appear to many. A chasm opens with a noiseless yawn. Tom Rockford, winner in athlete's singlet and breeches, arrives at the head of the national hurdle handicap and leaps into the void. He is followed by a race of runners and leapers. In wild attitudes they spring from the brink, their bodies plunge. Factory lasses with fancy clothes toss red-hot Yorkshire barra bombs. Society ladies lift their skirts above their head to protect themselves. Laughing witches in red cutty sarks ride through the air on broomsticks. Quaker Lister plasters blisters. It rains dragons' teeth. Armed heroes spring up from furrows. They exchange in amity the pass of Knights of the Red Cross and fight duels with cavalry sabres. Wolfe Tome against Harry Grattan, Smith O'Brien against Daniel O'Connell, Michael Davitt against Isaac Butt, Justin McCarthy against Parnell, Arthur Griffith against John Redmond, John O'Leary against Lear O'Johnny, Lord Edward Fitzgerald against Lord Gerald Fitzedward, the O'Donoghue of the Glens against the Glens of the Donoghue. On an eminence, the centre of the earth, rises the field altar of St. Barbara, black candles from its gospel and epistle horns. From the high barbicans of the tower 2 shafts of light fall on the smoke-palled altar stone. On the altar stone, Miss Mina Purefoy, goddess of unreason, lies, naked, fettered, a chalice resting on her swollen belly. Father Malachi O'Flynn, in a long petticoat and reversed chasuble, on 2 left feet back to the front, celebrates camp mass. The Reverend Mr. Hugh C. Haynes Love, M.A., in a black cassock and mortarboard, his head and collar back to the front, holds over the celebrant's head an open umbrella. Father Malachi O'Flynn, in Troibo ad altare diaboli. The Reverend Mr. Haynes Love, to the devil which hath made glad my young days. Father Malachi O'Flynn takes from the chalice and elevates a blood-dripped host, Corpus Meum. The Reverend Mr. Haynes Love raises high behind the celebrant's petticoats, revealing his grey, bare, hairy buttocks between which a carrot is stuck. My body. The voice of all the damned. Tenir letopinmo dog draw et off aoela Adonai. Dog. The voice of all the blessed. Alleluia, for the Lord God omnipotent reigneth. From on high the voice of Adonai calls. Adonai. God. In strident discord, peasants and townsmen of orange and green factions sing, kick the Pope, and daily, daily sing to Mary. Private Carr, with ferocious articulation. I'll do him in, so help me fucking Christ. I'll wring the bastard fucker's bleeding blasted fucking windpipe. Old Gummy Granny thrusts a dagger toward Stephen's hand. Remove him, Akushala. At 8:35 a.m. you will be in heaven and Ireland will be free. She prays. Oh, good God, take him. Bloom runs to Lynch. Can you get him away? Lynch, he likes dialectic, the universal language. Kitty, to Bloom, get him away, you. He won't listen to me. He drags Kitty away. Stephen points. Exit Judas. Et laqueo se suspendit. Bloom runs to Stephen. Come along with me now before worse happens. Here's your stick. Stephen. Stick, no. Reason. This feast of pure reason.
I'm Sunday Steinkirchner. I'm the owner of B&B Rare Books in New York City, and we have a first edition of Ulysses. Ulysses was published in 1922 and limited to 1,000 copies. This is in the original publisher's wrappers. 1,000 copies were divided into 3 different limitations. 100 copies were printed on Dutch paper and signed by Joyce. 150 copies were printed on Verger d'Arche paper, and the final 750, of which this is one, were printed on linen paper, and this copy is number 349.
My name is Jules Leonardos, and I am the communications manager for the ABAA New York International Antiquarian Book Fair.
My name is Sunday Steinkirchner, and I'm the owner of B&B Rare Books. We have a gallery right here in Manhattan, and I'm the chair of the ABAA New York International Antiquarian Book Fair. Sissy Caffrey, pulling Private Carr.
Come on, you're boozed. He insulted me, but I forgive him.
Shouting in his ear.
I forgive him for insulting me.
Bloom, over Stephen's shoulder.
Yes, go. You see he's incapable.
Private Carr breaks loose.
I'll insult him.
He rushes toward Stephen, fists outstretched, and strikes him in the face. Stephen totters, collapses, falls stunned. He lies prone, his face to the sky, his hat rolling to the wall. Bloom follows and picks it up. Major Tweedy, loudly.
Carbine and bucket! Ceasefire! Salute!
The retriever, barking furiously.
Oot, 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 oot.
The crowd.
Let him up! Don't strike him when he's down. Air? Who? The soldier hit him. He's a professor. Is he hurted? Don't manhandle him. He's fainted.
The retriever, nosing on the fringe of the crowd, barks noisily. A hag.
What call had the red coat to strike the gentleman and he under the influence? Let them go and fight the boors.
The bawd.
Listen to who's talking. Hasn't the soldier a right to go with his girl? He gave him the coward's blow.
They grab at each other's hair, claw at each other, and spit. The retriever, barking.
Wow, wow, wow.
Bloom shoves them back, loudly.
Get back! Stand back!
Private Compton, tugging his comrade.
Here, bugger off, Harry. There's the cops.
2 rain-caped watch, tall, stand in the group. First watch.
What's wrong here?
Private Compton.
We were with this lady, and he insulted us and assaulted my chum.
The retriever barks.
Who owns the bleeding tyke?
Sissy Caffrey, with expectation.
Is he bleeding?
A man, rising from his knees.
No, gone off. He'll come to all right.
Bloom glances sharply at the man.
Leave him to me. I can easily...
Second watch.
Who are you? Do you know him?
Private Carr lurches toward the watch.
He insulted my lady friend.
Bloom, angrily.
You hit him without provocation. I'm a witness. Constable, take his regimental number.
Second watch.
I don't want your instructions in the discharge of my duty.
Private Compton, pulling his comrade.
Here, bugger off, Harry, or Bennett'll have you in the lockup.
Private Carr, staggering as he is pulled away.
God fuck old Bennett. He's a white-arse bugger. I don't give a shit for him.
First Watch, taking out his notebook.
What's his name?
Bloom, peering over the crowd.
I just see a car there. If you give me a hand a second, Sergeant.
First Watch.
Name and address?
Corny Keller, weepers round his hat, a death wreath in his hand, appears among the bystanders. Bloom, quickly.
Oh, the very man.
He whispers.
Simon Dedalus' son. A bit sprung. Get those policemen to move the loafers back.
Second Watch.
Night, Mr. Kelleher.
Corny Kelleher. To the Watch, withdrawing eye.
That's all right. I know him. Won a bit on the races. Gold Cup. Throwaway.
He laughs.
20-1. Do you follow me?
First Watch turns to the crowd.
Here, what are you all gaping at? Move on out of that.
The crowd disperses slowly, muttering down the lane. Corny Kelleher.
Leave it to me, Sergeant. That'll be all right.
He laughs, shaking his head.
We were often as bad ourselves. Aye, or worse. What, eh? What?
First Watch laughs.
I suppose so.
Corny Kelleher nudges the Second Watch.
Come and wipe your name off the slate.
He lilts, wagging his hands.
With my touraloom, 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 touraloom. What, eh? Do you follow me?
Second Watch, genially.
Ah, sure we were too.
Corny Kelleher, winking.
Boys will be boys. I've a car round here.
Second Watch.
All right, Mr. Kelleher. Good night.
Corny Kelleher.
I'll see to that.
Hello again, Phil Salmon, joined by
Meredith Santaus.
And today we are wearing our booksellers' hats. We recently exhibited at the New York Antiquarian Book Fair, and we brought along our copy of Ulysses Alphabet, published by Propoline Press in 1973 in an edition of 60 copies, illustrated by, my cheat sheet here, Fritz Janschke. And I'm going to open to one passage because as a proper press book, an artist book, the plates are all loose and it makes it unwieldy to display. I'm going to show you a spread from the Circe episode, which is the topic under current discussion and reading. The alphabet in this case is not in any particular alphabetical order, and it is very surreal and dreamy. These colored etchings provide illustration for the underlined passage at the bottom of the facing text, which is taken from the 1934 American edition. We will be reading, however, from our photocopies provided from the first edition, and we'll be back in just a moment. Bloom shakes hands with both of the watch in turn. "Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you," he mumbles confidently. "We don't want any scandal, you understand. Father is a well-known, highly respected citizen. Just a little wild oats, you understand."
First Watch. "Oh, I understand, sir."
Second Watch. "That's all right, sir."
First Watch. "It was only in case of corporal injuries I'd have to report it at the station."
Bloom nods rapidly. "Naturally, quite right. Only your bounden duty." Second Watch. "It's our duty."
Corny Colorer. "Good night, men."
The Watch, saluting together. "Night, gentlemen." They move off with its slow, heavy tread. Bloom blows. "Providential that you came on the scene. You have a car?"
Corny Colorer laughs, pointing his thumb over his right shoulder to the car brought up against the scaffolding. "Two commercials that were standing fizz and jammets, like princes, faith. One of them lost £2 on the race, drowning his grief, and were on for a go with the jolly girls. So I landed them up on Behan's car and down to Nighttown."
Bloom. "I was just going home by Gardner Street when I happened to..."
Corny laughs. Sure, they wanted me to join in with the Moths. No, by God, says I. Not for old stagers like myself and yourself. He laughs again and leers with lackluster eye. Thanks be to God we have it in the house, what? Hey, do you follow me? Ha ha ha.
Bloom tries to laugh. Hee. Yes. Matter of fact, I was just visiting an old friend of mine there, Virag. You don't know him. Poor fellow. He's laid up for the past week. And we had a liquor together, and I was just making my way home. The horse neighs. Ho! Home!
Corny. Sure, it was Behan or Jarvie there that told me after we left the 2 commercials in Mrs. Cohen's, and I told him to pull up and got off to sea. He laughs. Sober hearse driver's a specialty. Will I give him a lift home? Where does he hang out? Somewhere in Cabra? What?
Bloom. No. In Sandy Cove, I believe, from what he let drop. Stephen, prone, breathes to the stars. Corny Kelleher, a squint, drawls at the horse. Bloom, in gloom, looms down.
Corny scratches his nape. Sandy Cove. He bends down and calls to Stephen. Hey? He calls again. Hey? He's covered with shavings anyhow. Take care they didn't lift anything off him.
Bloom. No. I have his money and his hat here and stick.
Corny. Well, he'll get over it. No bones broken. Well, I'll shove along. He laughs. I've a rendezvous in the morning. Burying the dead. Safe home.
The horse neighs. Home. Bloom. Good night. I'll just wait and take him along in a few. Corny Keller returns to the outside car and mounts it. The horse harness jingles.
Corny, from the car, standing. Night.
Bloom. Night. The Jarvie chucks the reins and raises his whip encouragingly. The car and horse back slowly, awkwardly, and turn. Corny Kelleher on the side seat sways his head to and fro in sign of mirth, Bloom's plight. The Jarvie joins in the mute pantomimic merriment, nodding from the farther seat. Bloom shakes his head in mute mirthful reply. With thumb and palm, Corny Kelleher reassures that the 2 bobbies will allow the sleep to continue for what else is to be done. With a slow nod, Bloom conveys his gratitude, as that is exactly what Stephen needs. The car jingles, Tularoom, around the corner of the Tularoom lane. Corny Kelleher again reassuralooms with his hand. Bloom with his hand assuralooms Corny Kelleher that he is reassuraloomalai. Tinkling hooves and jingling harness grow fainter with their tula-loo-aloo-aloo-alay. Bloom, holding his hand, Stephen's hat festooned with shavings and ash plant, stands irresolute. Then he bends to him and shakes him by the shoulder. Bloom. Eh? Ho? There is no answer. He bends again. Mr. Daedalus? There is no answer. The name, if you call, somnambulist. He bends again and, hesitating, brings his mouth near the face of the prostrate form. Stephen! There is no answer. He calls again. Stephen!
Stephen groans. Who? Black Panther vampire. He sighs and stretches himself, and murmurs thickly with prolonged vowels. Who, drive, Fergus now, and pierce wood's woven shade. He turns on his left side, sighing, doubling himself up together.
Bloom. Poetry. Well-educated. Pity. He bends again and undoes the buttons of Stephen's waistcoat. To breathe. He brushes the wood shavings from Stephen's clothes with light hands and fingers. 1 pound 7. Not hurt, anyhow. He listens. What?
Stephen murmurs. Shadows, the woods, white breast, dim. He stretches out his arms, sighs again, and curls his body. Bloom, holding his hat and ash plant, stands erect. The dog barks in the distance. Bloom tightens and looses his grip on the ash plant. He looks down on Stephen's face and form.
Bloom communes with the night. Face reminds me of his poor mother. In the shady wood, the deep white breast. Ferguson, I think I caught. A girl, some girl. Best thing could happen to him, he murmurs. Swear that I will always hail, ever conceal, never reveal any part or parts, art or arts, he murmurs. In the rough sands of the sea, a cable tow's length from the shore, where the tide ebbs and flows. Silent, thoughtful, alert, he stands on guard, his fingers at his lips in the attitude of a secret master. Against the wall, the dark wall, a figure appears slowly, a fairy boy of 11, a changeling, kidnapped, dressed in an Eton suit, with glass shoes and a little bronze helmet, holding a book in his hand. He reads from right to left inaudibly, smiling, kissing the page. Bloom, wonderstruck, calls inaudibly, Rudy.
Rudy gazes unseeing into Bloom's eyes and goes on reading, kissing, smiling. He has a delicate mauve face. On his suit, he has diamond and ruby buttons. In his free left hand, he holds a slim ivory cane with a violet bowknot. A white lambskin peeps out of his waistcoat pocket.
Fan.
Nancy.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of The Colophon and our Centennial reading of Ulysses from Thornwillow Press. Be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and please consider supporting us by visiting our website, www.thornwillow.com. Your help makes this and all our endeavors possible.